Hello and welcome back to Outside the Box. My name is Juanners.
This is Daniel.
I'm Jeremey.
I'm Joss.
And we're back with a whole lot of Major League Soccer in between this week's pod and the last podcast. And you know, after all was said and done, we had midweek games. And these midweek games could not have come at a worse time, honestly. I have some thoughts on maybe why. I mean, midweek games are what they are, but I have some reasons as to why Rivalry Week spearheaded this particular week in general. But first, we're gonna start off just talking about all the rivalries through the week, and then get through all the teams, kind of a quick catch up. And kind of wrap this one up. First, I want to start with, of course, the first rivalry match of the rivalry week, and that is SKC heading over to St. Louis. And we got a 2-2 draw, a rather fun one. Joss, tell us about this one. Tell us about your mighty Kansas City Wizards here.
The resilient boys in blue, Kerry Zavagnan's resilient boys in blue, heading down I-70 and coming away with a draw. Now, firstly, like Juan mentioned in the opening, this is a rivalry week game. Why is it on a Wednesday? Major League Soccer, why are you shafting us? Apologies, but it feels like if you're going to have a whole week dedicated to this rivalry, these rivalries are their blood, people die on the field for this, fans fighting, this is what this sport is all about. Let's put it on a Wednesday. What happens on a Wednesday? Nothing good happens. Nothing exciting happens on a Wednesday. Wednesday is probably the most boring day of the week. It's not like you're getting ready for the weekend. It's not like you're ramping up your week. It's right in the middle. I really feel like
you got work the next day.
You got work the next day. You still got 2 more days left of the work week, and you're gonna put a heart pounding rivalry game on a Wednesday evening? I feel like that's messed up, but that's just me. But with this game, St. Louis, they go 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is bad. But because I'm used to Kansas City capitulating at Energizer Park, as it's now known as. And the dog food boys in pink usually have our number there, except for in the playoffs in 23, as everybody remembers. But so going 2-0 down, and off of Celio Pompeu banger, he always seems to score rockets against us, and deflected Toychert goal, which is annoying as hell. That wrong foot's pulse camp. I'm thinking this is just not our night. But then Tim Leibel digs one back, and I'm sure the St. Louis fans are confused how the white German is scoring against them, but that's neither here nor there. and then Dejan Joveljic rises like a salmon to head home 2-2 from a Shoppy Suleimanov cross. And I'm thinking this is it. Like this is different than Peter Vermes. I've said it for weeks now, but I'm very shocked at how different the vibe around the team feels, given how Kerry Zavagnant has been employed at the club since Jesus rose again. I'm surprised how he's seemingly been able to change the mindset so much. But my favorite part of the game comes at the end when Shoppy Suleimanov goads the St. Louis fans standing right by him, cupping his hands to his ears, much like Lionel Messi, another famous left-footed right winger. And St. Louis did not take kindly to that, but that's how you endear yourself to the fans. I have been vocal in my criticisms of Shoppy, especially early on in the season. But man, since Peter Vermes left, it seems like he's a different player. He seems to have more confidence. He just seems to be feeling himself, for lack of better terms. I'm very, very happy to see that I've been proven wrong about Shoppy. It's just, and overall, I think alongside that and alongside the John Pulskamp save, which was reminded me of Emi Martinez's save against Kolomoani in the World Cup final. And John Pulskamp, like, the ball hasn't got out of play yet, and John Pulskamp gets up and he's got his tongue sticking out. He's hyped. That's what this game's all about. It's been really, I think it's one of the best rivalries in the league. I'm obviously biased, but for it having so much energy, being so young as well, there's the playoff meeting, but other than that, all of our other meetings have just been regular season games. It hasn't had like a hell is real Eastern Conference final meeting yet, because we've both been very, very mid since St. Louis has joined the league overall. But I still get hyped for it. St. Louis fans still get hyped for it. And it's always some good energy. And the players seem to get hyped for it and buy into it. And I think that's the most important part. It's so funny to see players like Dejan Joveljic get hyped for a Midwestern midweek derby. I just think that's really funny.
I mean, even Shoppy, right?
Yeah, even Shoppy, right? Just buying into the hate. I love it. Endears himself to the players. And yeah, I just really wish that it would join the other slate because I feel like MLS kind of treated it like it was an appetizer for, here's what you can look forward to with Rivalry Week. But for me, SKC and St. Louis should be one of the main courses.
Now, before we get too far into the SKC weeds, I want to open up to talking about, it's really the team that is probably the worst to talk about, and it's because it's just, you probably love this, Joss. It's just because they're just so mid. Daniel and Jeremy, I kind of want to ask you guys, do you guys have any STL thoughts? Like, when I say STL or St. Louis City or Energizer Park, like, I know the boring whites is the immediate gut go to, but like, what are you guys thinking when you see St. Louis like playing any team?
I think of Manuel Veth's tweet.
And then which one's that one?
The one where he said, I could win the MLS with a squad of Zwei Bundesliga players. Just well-drilled, tactical. Because that's what their entire team is it not? The problem is that Olaf Melberg's in charge of it. And Lutz Pfannestiel is the one who's bringing in all those players.
Yeah,
it's such a mess. Front office on down. I was still like reeling from that Carnell firing last year, and that's how you get to this place right now. When you have a coach who vastly overachieves in his first year, you fire him before those summer transfer window plans. Which, like, at that point, Lutz knows he's bringing in Toy Shirt Hartel and Betcher.
Well, they were signed.
So,
they were coming in. They were just, it was a matter of time before the window had opened until they get, gotten into the squad.
Yeah, he's Lutz in particular. He's rivaling Ernst Tanner in terms of just arrogance as a decision maker in the front office. Except right now, Ernst Tanner, it's kind of working out for Philly, is it not? They're top of the shield right now. And St. Louis is just nosediving. And Lutz, who has already fired a head coach way too early. Is it safe to say that Melberg's already been here too long?
What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say Melberg's already been there too long. I mean,
but why?
11 goals in 14 games. They are the second lowest offensive producing squad in the West. The LA Galaxy have scored more goals than them. They're just not very good, but they have the pieces theoretically to be good. So your first instinct's to point at the manager. Like, why aren't they scoring goals? Why? Really, it's not even giving up goals. They've only given up 18 goals this year. They're just not scoring goals, and they're a boring team to watch.
Yeah. This is, I only asked because the Rapids are set to face St. Louis, and I just, wonder what that's going to look like after their, because I went to St. Louis for the first road game of the season for the Rapids, came away with a 0-0, and that kind of that game really showed you two sides of the coin. You got Rapids inefficient scoring sometimes, combined with just mid from St. Louis. But yeah, I think if there are some rumblings that Melberg is looking likely to be on the way out. There's like some reports circling around. I don't know if they're where there's smoke there's fire, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next one gone. Which is crazy because Pablo's still out there, turning in a mid shift every week, and Oh man, we'll talk about that. But I mean, before we move on, let's wrap a bow on SKC because my main thing before we recorded is that I said SKC is kind of a fake team, but in such a in such a weird way where they just are there, and like they don't concede. They're not as bad as DC, where DC's just giving the ball away for fun, inviting everybody to come scoring on them. Like SKC is I'm surprised how well they've been doing with Robert Volader and Tim Leibold stepping up too. Jansen Miller is not as mistake prone as initially thought, but no Joaquin Fernandez, no Daniel Rosero. You got Andrew Brody, who I know we were all very high on as well, helping to put Davis in the midfield. Like there's parts that are slowly coming together, and then it's just something about them in when they go to attack. I don't get it. Joss, tell me, man, like how are you seeing this team? Is that far off? Because I know they're conceding some crazy goals as well, just some ridiculous bangers.
They are, and shouts to Jeremey because we didn't record after the Timbers beat us off a Santiago Moreno bicycle kick. So if you want to say something,
Happy Mother's Day. That's all I'm gonna say for that one. And
Yeah.
also, I think it's really interesting because Juanners just described them as a team who's just like kind of there. That's exactly what they were in that game against Portland, except for John Poolskamp, who did an excellent job of keeping it 1-0.
Mm-hmm. I think SKC they've got a strategy of try not to lose away and win at home, and we'll make the playoffs. And I think that's a recipe for success. We went out to Cincinnati and really only lost off a Kevin Danke goal of the year. We went out to Portland and lost off of another goal of the year candidate. And we go out to St. Louis and we get a draw from 2-0 down. And then we drew, obviously, in the San Diego game, which I don't really want to talk about because it was like us kind of there.
Well, to be fair, that was their third road game in 7 days.
And the road game, Portland to St. Louis to San Diego.
Insane.
That's 5,000 miles of travel in like a week. I'm really happy we don't have to do that again. But yeah, I think that I think that we are kind of just there, but it feels like this is a getting back to basics moment. SKC used to be a very resolute defensive team, and it used to be a team full of guys that just seemed to hate every single team they played against. I'm thinking of Roger Espinoza, Benny Feilhaber, Seth Sinope, and Myers, just guys that would kick the hell out of you for 90 minutes. Those old RSL SKC games with Kyle Beckerman in the midfield against Roger Espinoza or Benny Feilhaber, those were always just fiery and explosive. And I think that there's a level of getting back to that, but in a new age MLS. We have a Jansen Miller now. We have a Shapi Suleimanov. Players who I think technically are better than like players of old. But they have that added dog factor. Dejan Joveljic is another one. Just an added factor of being kind of assholes. I think that's kind of what Kerry Zavagnin is getting back into, and then he's bringing in the Jake Davis of the world, or Jacob Bartlett. There's a little flair in there with Manu Garcia, who I think is outstanding. I'm singing his praises until he leaves. But yeah, I think it feels like Kerry's getting us back to basics and just making us a team full of dogs that are hated. John Poolskamp, another one. And I like it. I like being the team that people don't want to play because our players are dickheads.
Well said. I'm here for the SKC revitalization. I think it's fair to say their next next stretch of games is going to be crucial to see who they really are.
Mm-hmm. One final thing before we move on. Back talking about St. Louis and how maybe Olaf Melberg isn't the right guy. I just think that St. Louis, much like Kansas City, is a sports city. And they have to understand that we Midwesterners don't really have much to live for. And if our sports teams are bad, we will not hesitate to do what needs to be done, either to ourselves or to people or to the coach. So, if you get the fans on your side, it's great. But if the fans start rumbling against you, because really in that city, it's either be a fan of a good sports team or look at the arch. Like that's really all you can. And that's what we're seeing here. I think I'm seeing a lot of rumblings from St. Louis fans saying Milberg needs to leave, and I think that once the fans of a Midwestern team are against you, it's kind of over.
Damn, a little sympathy here for from Joss, from one Midwesterner to the other Midwesterners out there. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. By the time we record next week, he very well could be gone, or he gets his first win this weekend against the Rapids. We shall revisit this next week. Let's head into our rivalry week. Oh, before we go, of course we're doing bad guys, good guys of the respective rivalry. Are we all in agreement, at least of right now, and for as much as the fixture has been around, the SKC are in fact the good guys here, STL the bad guys? Anybody the opposite that?
I don't see anybody on St. Louis aura farming like Shoppy did. So SKC are the good guys.
Not just the ears of the crowd, but like that screenshot that kept going around of like Pompeu being outraged and Shoppy's just like they're shrugging next to him. That's even better.
I painted myself as the I forgot what that one is. That one's a classic.
As
the statue.
Shoppy Suleimanov and you as the seething Celios Pompeu.
Yeah, that one, man, that match provided. I will say, I mean, it sucks. It happened midweek, but definitely provided. These games, however, the weekend games, I'm going to kind of allow everyone here to hit the button if if the usual consensus agreement for some of these games is, yeah, midweek sucks and the team's just kind of, the teams just kind of played to get through the game. And, in a regular season like that, that kind of diminishes the games a little bit. But I thought, all the rivalry games I thought were fun enough. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go to the East or to the West first? Because or we could just let's start with the Sunday games. I think that's the best way to go about it. LA Galaxy, LAFC, El Tráfico closed Sunday night soccer and rivalry week. Overall, I thought it was people were clamoring that it was an epic El Tráfico. I thought this was a pretty mild El Tráfico. You got LA Galaxy still without a win. Almost had it versus Philly and then collapsed. But Greg Vanny extended. I'm kind of interested to hear you guys' perspectives on that and on this one as a whole. Let's start with Daniel. What'd you make of El Tráfico? This at least this edition.
I mean, in a game where LAFC came off just absolutely pummeling Seattle, I thought they were going to do the same exact thing to the LA Galaxy. So good on the LA Galaxy for taking the rivalry seriously. I mean, what else are they going to do? But Marco Royce, it was nice to see him come out and really stand out in this game, especially bagging the game tire and see them come away with a draw. It ultimately was kind of disappointing for LAFC in the long run, in my opinion. But I don't know. My head's stuck on the Vaney extension because I have so many mixed thoughts on it. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it, but it's somewhere like this. The sports guy in me says he deserves to be fired because that's just kind of how the sport goes. You kind of need to change a face to kind of set a new stage for the players on the roster. But at the same time, his star players around him all still wanted him there. Peck wanted him there. Payne still wanted him there. Ricky Pooge is actively begging for fans to lay off of him on Twitter. So, that tells me that, he probably should be re-signed. If not, you have to slam the reset button. And now we're talking about LA Galaxy from 2021 again, where it takes them 2 to 3 years to even become relevant. So I don't know. Ultimately, it was a good win. It was a pretty exciting game. It's just like every El Tráfico. You never really know what's going to happen, but I think the talk of the game right now is what's going on with Vaney.
What about you, Jeremy, Joss? What did y'all make of this one from either side?
I hate how this league refuses to allow these games to be mid every once in a while. And
Yeah,
I
they
say
have
this
to
as
be good.
a
They have to be epic.
yeah, I say this as a Traffico denier, and I wrote about this ahead of because the Timbers obviously played a rivalry game this week, but I don't believe in intercity rivalries. I do not, especially given the way that both of MLS's intercity rivalries have popped out. And we'll get to whatever happened at the baseball stadium later on this show, but particularly when you have one set of fans who obviously used to be fans of the other team. I don't get how you can like kind of make a rivalry out of that. It's so created. It's so just like, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just so like, I guess created is the word I'm looking for. Like, usually these rivalries are born out of regional hate, and the fact that you hate people from another city because they're clowns, like the way Joss feels about people from St. Louis. Like, of course, what else are they gonna do if they don't have sports than just go look at the Arch? Like, because there is nothing to do over there. So I feel that this game has to be good in order for MLS to see itself as relevant. Luckily, they got it again. Like, of course, you're going to rule the pet goal offside because the what's it called? The Royce free kick is already written into the script. Like, okay, that's fine. We get it. But in terms of this game, LAFC, they did what they had to do midweek. And I think there'll be a larger portion on the show later where we talk about how ridiculous it is to schedule midweek games before rivalry week. But LAFC and the Galaxy, both of them, the Galaxy had to travel to Philly midweek. They almost got their first win, and then they got Bariboed. And that the LAFC would just had to host Seattle and smack the shit out of them, which, like, fair play, very well done. I wish they would have, like, given Seattle a little bit more hope, so they would have gotten a little bit more minutes out of their starters. But you know what? That's fine. You can crush them and immediately put the pressure on Schmetzer again. But for this game in particular, giving them the extra day of rest, I think, kind of helped, especially for the Galaxy because they were absolutely awake for this one. But LAFC's quality is just too much. And Denny Bouanga, Lordy, that goal was out of the top drawer. And, like, I watched it from behind the goal cam. It seemed like it was, like, perfectly hit to the far post in real time. But behind the goal, like, it's, like, upper 90, but, like, maybe, like, a foot or two away from the far post. It's still an unbelievable strike. And part of that is what makes this rivalry good because there just are really good goals in this game all the time. And that standard was set from the very first meeting when Carlos Vela scored the first goal in El Tráfico with a curler and then Zlatan just upstaged him. So I feel like this was a very winnable game for the Galaxy, particularly from the way that Cherundolo just decided to protect a 2-1 lead, which I don't care how bad the Galaxy are. You can't do that. You really can't do that. So, yeah, I mean, it would have been really funny if the Galaxy won this game, but they drew. They got a draw that I guess feels like a win because they haven't had a win to celebrate this year. So you have to hand it to them.
What about you, Josh? Any closing thoughts here? And I'll let you lead us into the next rivalry as well, whatever one's got you immediately here. But
the choice. Okay.
Yeah.
No, to close this out, I don't know if you guys heard on the broadcast, but but when they were talking about Mark Delgado and kind of everything that he went through with week, ring the same day of the game from the Galaxy, and I think he had a whole video on their socials, kind of crazy. But they also mentioned when talking about him, Chivas USA, which I didn't know MLS broadcasters were allowed to mention anymore. Kind of surprised we did like a muffled gunshot afterwards and then a new voice take over, but that's just me. I was just surprised by that. But yeah, again, great coverage from Jeremey. And Daniel, I can't really add anything other than I'm kind of annoyed that Marco Royce won Player of the Match Day. I thought he was fine, but at the same level, El Tráfico is all about the stars. I get it. You know, Zlatan, Carlos Vela, Marco Royce has kind of added himself to that. Denny Buwanga he's had his boots all over this fixture ever since he joined LAFC. I just don't know if Marco Royce is really. I don't think he deserved to win Player of the Match day, and we can talk about who I think did when we talk about that rivalry game. But I think it was a level of the stars show up in the biggest moments, and that's what won it for them. The free kick was unbelievable. His first goal was, kind of a rebound, kind of a lucky goal, but you got to take him. And I wish that this fixture didn't have the aura and the juice that it does, but I'll always tune into El Trafico, and I think that'll be the case for a long time.
Now, before you pick the next matchup, Daniel, you said you have a question before we close out.
Yeah, I just have a question for Jeremy in regards to his stance on the rivalries, right? Normally they're regional. That's why St. Louis and Kansas City hate each other. Is it more of a fatigue? Like you're tired of like MLS media constantly pumping up this rivalry? Because the fan bases really don't like each other. Like if you see them interact on any kind of social media, you watch the way the 3-2-5-2 takes over LA Galaxy Stadium, like it's generally a pretty electric atmosphere, and it seems like they really don't like each other. Do you think it's the MLS media just constantly overblowing it? Is that why you're kind of fatigued of it?
They don't like each other because half of them used to be Galaxy fans, Daniel. They did. Like, after Chivas,
Okay, but that doesn't make it any less of a rivalry.
Yeah, it does make it. I don't think it really like. Okay, so you're talking specifically about the fan hate, which I do love the fan hate there. I just think it's like really like ridiculous. It's the same way I feel about like San Diego and LAFC, because both of you guys used to be Galaxy fans too. So I'm more of the tune that yes, of course you're gonna hate each other, because I guess LAFC fans are the most self-loathing people in the entire league because they used to be Galaxy fans. So I feel like, first of all, the league manufactured it. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Manufactured. They manufactured it so they could get a marquee like intercity game in one of their biggest markets. Which, like, fair enough. Who cares? Like, got to grow the league somehow because your Chivas USA experiment failed. That's another Chivas USA mention, and therefore I must mention Diego Valeri in the same breath. Okay, so I'm really just thinking about how in this game in particular, the venom brought by both of the fan bases does elevate it a little more, but it also receives outsized media coverage usually, just because it's the combination of market, stars, and I guess success, because we're now entering the third. Last year was the third straight year that an LA club went to MLS Cup after 6-7 straight years of a Cascadia team doing it. So the regional dominance is what the West is all, and particularly right now, I don't have an issue with them making a huge deal about it like this year, because the level of competition in the West still goes through LA no matter what until a Western Conference team makes MLS Cup. So yeah, I just feel like I've seen this game be constantly hyped, even in like 2021, 2020, when both teams were utter dog shit. So yeah, it's getting a little old, and I also just don't like it because it is very much a rivalry that the league created.
Over to Josh.
All right,
now.
that works for me.
You got to pick the match here. You got to make sure it's a good one, or else Jeremy will kill you right on the spot.
Sweet Lord.
A lot of pressure here. Where are we going?
I would like to travel up north. I'd like to travel to Canada for the 6-1 Canadian Classique between Toronto and Montreal. And I can get us started, Juanners, if that's all right.
Go for it.
Sure. So the reason I chose this game is because 7-goal thriller, even if thriller's not really the word I want to use, but it was a Toronto domination brought on because of Montreal's red card in the about the 30th minute. But even before that, or actually before that, I thought it was a pretty good game. Vrioni, Juan, shout out Vrioni. I know you're also a Vrioni believer.
Unfortunately, I am, but
he had a goal ruled out. I thought he was really exciting this game. He had a goal ruled out before Toronto scored the opener. And I think it just goes to show that with the right system, he can actually be a pretty decent player. Because Toronto's defense have, even if they kind of got off to a bad start, they've been pretty good over the recent months. But then Waterman gets sent off for Montreal. And, to me, I don't know if you guys saw the red card, but to me, that's how you're supposed to do a red card. You're supposed to make it so there is no doubt in the referee's mind. And Waterman did that. It was a pull down. It was a slide tackle. It was dogzo. It was everything in the red card handbook. And I just wanted to shout out Waterman because I appreciate when a red card looks like it should be a red card. And then from there, Toronto really just put the foot on the gas. Bernadeschi, who I know is talking about Marco Royce not really deserving to be player of the week. Bernadeschi was my player of the week.
Yeah.
To this, and I just thought he was unbelievable. And he's got 7 goals and assists in 14 games this season. And it's really, really funny to see how much more he clearly cares about Toronto than Insigne does. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what mentality is the difference between the two of them. But for whatever reason, Bernadeschi clearly cares about Toronto, which I can just love and I can appreciate. But yeah, I thought that this game had kind of everything. It had a red card. It had 7 goals. And Montreal, they're playing at home now. They can't afford to do this. They can't afford to ship 6. But to be fair to the Montreal fans, they all stuck around for most of the game, right until about the end. And I know that we're kind of secretly Toronto enjoyers here. Daniel, I'm shouting out you here. What are your thoughts on how Toronto did in this game?
I have like 3 thoughts. So 2 weeks ago, I was actually going to make the comment that Bryn Hildson, who was like their big signing of the winter transfer window, I was just like, this dude has to hate it in Toronto because he's not really producing anything. He doesn't really get service. Doesn't really fit into their system. So it was nice finally seeing him have a good game. Bernadeschi does this thing every year. And funny enough, you brought him up how he loves Toronto, because just a year ago, there were rumors that he got kicked out of the locker room under Tom Bradley because he was vaping. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It
The
was
vaping
a whole
Italians.
ordeal. Yeah,
It was
the
very
damn
funny.
Italians just love vaping in locker rooms. But he does give that vibe that he does care more about it than Insigne. That being said, he does this thing every year where we'll have like 3 or 4 games where he just pops off and looks electric. And you're like, man, Federico Bernadeschi could just own this league if he wants to. Then he just disappears. And a lot of that's, because he just played Montreal. And I know Juanners likes watching Montreal for some sadistic reason, but I don't know. I'm not really moved by the performance. I thought he had a good game, but he just does this thing every year. He's done it every year for the last 2.5 years where it's like, man, he could really own the league if he wants to, and Insigne could own this league if they just had the right pieces around them. And I guarantee we're in the next week or so, he's going to have another ghoster, and we're going to be like, oh, well, you guys remember that one time he played well against Montreal? That was fun.
Yeah, I want to chime in here because I think this has been I have gone on and say that Bernadeschi is the closest Giovinco that this team has had since Giovinco, and even in the matches where it was like, damn, like Toronto, got smoked on, this stake from the back line. Bernadeschi was still pretty neat. Like I thought, if there is a coach that deserves talent to actually play with and utilize, it's Robin Fraser. I mean, like in this one, Maxime Dominguez, I have to shout him out because it's been, this team has not had Jonathan Osorio, so to have Maxime Dominguez kind of step in, it was either Dominguez or Insigne. They both started on the field, and it like clicked even beyond the red card and stuff. Like the Toronto knew what they were doing, putting Tyrese Spicer out there as like a wide direct threat, and Montreal just got lazy, and defensively they get lazy, and this is why Montreal's fun to watch, is because they so badly want to be Columbus. They so badly want to pass the ball around and game over game over game, they are having a lot of great passing sequences, and then they just have one bad mistake, a poor pass. I think they put themselves to sleep through their own possession, whereas Columbus, we'll talk about Columbus. They're buzzing, they're moving, there's dynamicism. Oh, holy shit, Steven Moreira's pushing up the ball as a center back, and no one's stopping him. Here, you have to sub in Fernando Alvarez, who is a mistake per 90 type player that, it's fun, man. I don't know. It's like the little engine that could whenever I watch Montreal. But,
that's a good way to put it.
But yeah, I mean, I thought this was the rivalry match of the week, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, a lot of my action was on this game. I cashed all my bets but one on this one, and very close to a crazy one, and the rest of the day never matched the hype. So we were kind of spoiled with this one, but I'll turn it over to Jeremey, see if he's got any thoughts, and then maybe Jeremey, you can take us to the next rivalry match as well.
Yes. I would like to take a moment because that referee who gave that red card is Philip Dujic, who did the however VAR thing. He's been very good. I think PRO actually has another standout referee again, aside from just that viral moment.
Don't tell Messi that.
The little man does like to argue, doesn't he? But yeah. I would also like to say one quick thing about Montreal. The beatings are still continuing, and the morale isn't improving. Okay. Check
just
that off
morale.
my list.
Just my morale.
Yeah. I know. See, they are a joy for everyone to watch except for their own fans, which, that's it. Sometimes you're just a gift to the league, and this year's Montreal team is absolutely a gift to the league, both for other teams who will continue to get points off them, and for the fans who like seeing young players make bad mistakes and get punished to an outside degree. Okay. Also, I'd like to say one last thing about this, because we didn't do this for the LA Galaxy LAFC game. Who is the good guy and who is the bad guy for El Trafico?
They're both heels. They're both bad guys.
I agree, but I'm usually a little more sympathetic towards the Galaxy during this game.
I'm more sympathetic towards LAFC, but that's just me.
Fair enough.
I'm going to say LAFC good guys, LA Galaxy bad guys.
Okay. Josh, you have a...
Both are bad guys, good guys, Chivas USA.
Okay.
There's the right take. Thank you, Josh. And then for the Canadian Classique, who is the good guy and who is the bad guy between Toronto and Montreal?
I think it
good
flips.
I think the good guy's Toronto. Only because French Canadian isn't a real language.
Okay.
Old Daniel.
I'm gonna say good guy Montreal, bad guy Toronto.
Historically, I think it is Montreal good guy, Toronto bad guy, because Toronto's been on the upper end of all of it. But I mean, Montreal's front office is so chaotic; they might be the bad guy after all.
I think just taking everything into account, front offices, everything, I think they're both good guys, because I think the league is really good when there are two Canadian teams that are actually good, and one of them is not Vancouver. So, yeah, I'm tempted to label them both as the good guy, and I still think they've given this league the most exciting playoff
series,
two-leg series ever.
Oh, true.
Yeah. And even though there are still some, it's really weird because I never expected that I would just have a beef with Ignacio Piatti for this long, and I would still just be holding on to it oh, Gray, I remember Ignacio Piatti again. Gray, I'm in a bad mood, but that's good. But both these teams in my mind are the good guys, and I do see the validity to the rest of it. The next rivalry match though. I'm going to do the surprising thing and not talk about the Pacific Northwest for a second. Let's go to Ohio for Hell is Real, which, once again, I give this rivalry validity because it's in between two different cities, even though they are both the same phenotype of person, aka an Ohio man or Ohio woman. I believe that there's just something really funny about just inter-Ohio hate. You see it in like football with the Browns and the Bengals. You see it in baseball with the Guardians and the Reds. Almost did a slip there. I had to remember their new naming for a second. But the hate that exists between Columbus and Cincinnati for this game, it's really good. It does look like a lot of people just like pointing a finger, like the Spider-Man pointing at itself meme a lot of the time. But at least now there's the star power and there's the success because Cincinnati got good to like make this game like actually worth like tuning into every single time. And this one was absolutely worth it because Evander did not mean to pass that ball to Kevin Danke with a bicycle kick, but it happened. And
Everyone
he didn't
told
have
me
to
he
go.
happened, though. Everyone on the broadcast said it did happen. I don't know. I think you're wrong
Yeah.
here.
Well, and Evander didn't have to go talk to reporters after the game and said, I was trying to shoot that. He could have just said, yeah, I meant that. And I would have believed it. But I wouldn't have believed it either because I know he was trying to shoot that. So either way, that was a pretty good way for this game to start, right? However, we'll get more into this as the game goes on. Diego Rossi equalizes with a penalty, very obvious handball. I'm starting to become a little bit of like a guy who believes that a handball like that in the box should not result in a penalty. I think it should result in an indirect free kick because I like fun and I don't like penalty kicks. But I think we need to start writing the ballad of Daniel Gazdag. I am. How has he not scored a goal for the Columbus Crew yet? He gets in so many good places, and like Montreal, like they have all these good passing sequences, and they lose it in the final third and whatever, and then it's a catastrophic error, and then they're conceding, and like Jonathan Sirois is like lying down, his back looking at the sky, asking for it to swallow him up. But like Columbus run all these beautiful sequences, and they just end with Daniel Gazdag sending the ball into like the 200 section. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on a pretty relatively entertaining Hell is Real in Columbus doesn't have a city nickname.
Can I start?
Go
Yeah.
for it, Joss.
Firstly, Jeremy, I completely agree what you're saying about handballs. I said this a couple of years ago. I think instances like that where it's not directly affecting the goal need to be like a hockey situation where the player gets sent to a sin bin. Blue card, indoor soccer, if you guys are fans of that, you get sent to a sin bin for like 5 minutes. They're on timeout. The offending team will play down a man for 5 minutes and they'll carry on instead of giving like a 0.76 XG chance to a team because of a wayward cross. So I completely agree.
Seems a hot take there, though.
Rather
than just indirect free kick, you want to see them go to the penalty box
for like 5 minutes. I think it would just be a fair execution. But indirect free kick, I think, is another good shout. I think I said it like if you guys remember the Man City Spurs Champions League semifinal game or quarterfinal game from a few years back, and Llorente scored a hand. It was the whole thing. Like I've had this opinion for a long time, is what I'm getting at. But I literally wrote in my notes here after that Danke goal, Jeremy, what do you think? Was the Evander assist purposeful or not? And there's my answer.
He said it.
He said it wasn't, right?
No, he said he was trying to shoot that, and it was a terrible shot, but it somehow worked out for him.
The angle of his body was all wrong for it to be a shot, but that's just okay. Whatever. Whatever, Evander. Anyway, I also wanted to say, I was watching some of the goals back, and we haven't really touched on this, but this was kind of a rivalry week of goalkeeper errors. I felt like Schulte had an error in this game. I don't know if you guys really would count whatever the hell Breza was doing in Montreal's goal. But a couple of the goals there were kind of errors. And there was another one in another rival in whatever happened at the baseball stadium too with Carlos Coronel. I don't know if it's midweek game fatigue or a loss of concentration because it is a higher stakes game, but I thought it was just kind of confusing why there were so many goalkeeper errors leading to goals here. But I'm not going to complain because goals are fun and I'm fun and I'm not. Guys, I swear I'm fun. I also wanted to ask you guys what you guys thought about the special kit numbers. Should other rivalries have something like Hell Israel had for this game? What do you think?
I thought it was sick.
I think
I'm not gonna lie.
anything that could help differentiate you, and I guess as a club, I'm all for, because we at times the league, you're reminded of moments when the league is bankrolling Messi, that type of shit. The more unique that you can make a fixture or a club identity, if that's what you want out of that, I'm all for it. I think clubs leaning into oddities like this is what we need, really.
I agree, and I this isn't the first time that two teams have done like special kit numbers for a game. I believe it was 2018. The Sounders hosted the Timbers, and Seattle had like Cascadia colored numbers on the back of their jerseys, white, green, and blue. They lost, so they did white, green, and blue it. But at the same time, like it's always cool when you do that. Add a little bit extra spice, except for fireworks. You don't need pregame fireworks for everything. It's just stupid.
Oh, come on.
When I came back from RSL this week when the Timbers played their midweek, and they set out they were lighting up fireworks in front of like a half full stadium for a midweek game. I don't get it. I don't get the whole fireworks thing. Like just play like some cool walkout song or something and just get the crowd like more involved.
You're outing yourself as a not fun, cool guy.
Yeah, unlike me, who's fun.
That's fair. That's fair. I can't be anti-Joss right now. I have to refine my fun. I will give myself till the end of the show to refine my fun.
Good guys, bad guys. Who are we thinking? Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys in this one for y'all?
Good guys, Columbus. Bad guys, Cincy.
100% agree.
I agree.
I agree also.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the wooden spoon, you don't get any sympathy here. Let's see, where do we want to go next? Daniel, I'll let you choose. Give us
I want to go, and it was probably predictable based off the question I asked Jeremy earlier, but I want to go to the Red Bulls versus NYCFC because that is the most manufactured intra-city rivalry, I feel like, probably in America, honestly, because I feel like there is no bite to this rivalry at all. And I don't know if you guys agree with me. I don't know.
You said?
It's pretty. Whenever I see the MLS tweet graphic, New York is red or New York is blue, it just makes me think, oh my God, they want to be Manchester so freaking bad, dude.
True.
Sport, but like Rams Chargers exists.
True. And neither one of those teams have fans. So it's not even a real rivalry.
That is true. You could also maybe make the case for Red Bulls and NYCFC to fall into that category as well.
Well, I will say there is some animosity between some of the fans. I've been, I guess, privy to some of the more the uglier sides of the fandom, I will say. So there are people getting their kicks off that way when it comes to this rivalry, but I don't know. I both teams, I mean, it's diminished when NYC play in a baseball stadium. I think a lot of their games are, and it's a travesty that some team let them win a fucking MLS Cup, man. Like, come on. But beyond that, my main thing I want to talk about when it comes to this match is No, if there's no Omar Valencia, there is no reason to watch this Red Bulls team. He is. When we get to the midseason, I guess episode of the podcast, I want to hype him up as one of the U22s that really just is the difference for my enjoyment of the Red Bulls. But beyond that, they're phoning it in, man. I'm done watching Red Bulls soccer. It's not fun. I know they beat the piss out of fucking LA Galaxy, but it's LA Galaxy. Like, have some shame, you know?
It's just so frustrating that they have the money and the resources that they do, and they signed Maxime Chopin, who, whatever his name is, sorry, Choupo-Moting, Maxime Choupo-Moting. I don't know why I bottled that so hard, but yeah. Anyway, they signed him, I feel like, as a way to like silence fans who constantly complain that they don't invest. And he is currently 12th in the MLS in goals scored. He has 7 on the year, but I feel like those 7 came in like 3 games. He has literally done nothing. And Forsberg's kind of been, I feel like, absent this year as well too. And he's not the only thing he's absent in, but he's definitely been absent for the Red Bulls.
I mean, he turned over the ball that led to New York's first goal. So he's not, he's not this solid, shifty 10 anymore. I mean, you have guys like Sofo running around doing a lot of work off the ball, but they're missing someone there.
We're watching Forsberg slowly and surely become Click, and it pisses me off so much.
I mean, that's a long ways away, but
Look,
man,
the fall from grace is normally quick.
Shit, I don't know. I don't want to say that. I love Forsberg, bro.
Does anyone have any other thoughts on this rivalry? Because this one's pretty boring, and NYCFC, I feel like, always has that home field advantage, just playing on a baseball field that no one else can really get accustomed to. Which is why they win so much there.
I hate the baseball field angle, bro. It feels like I'm playing FC 25. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but that angle is the worst.
It is absolutely the worst. It's not even like I'm playing FC 25, like a fun version of it, like an online mode. It feels like I'm playing a career mode where I just am like it's just the worst. I hate it.
The one thing I'll say about I guess not this match, but Aiden O'Neill is this new holding midfielder for this side. He filled in really well without Keaton Parks, and I think moving forward that might be the duo in midfield is O'Neill and Parks. But I mean, Johnny Shore, that kind of drops him off a little bit. I mean, NYC have a fun team, but they are kind of more fake than SKC in that they're there and they like score goals, and they're this team that is winning, but they're like the good luck SKC, because SKC is right now in bad luck. Bad luck NYC. That's what I'll call them.
SKC would kill for a Maxi Morales, though.
I was just gonna say, like, he was the best creator in this game, and he is 38 years old.
Yeah, I was about to say 38 though. Come on.
Form is temporary, man. Class is permanent. That boy is. That boy's good.
He's awesome.
Is there a example of an NYCFC player who deserves a statue outside of Yankee Stadium?
Oh, it's Maxi for sure.
It's far and away Maxi, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say Maxi. I mean, maybe even Keaton Parks, but
Toddy, if he would have stayed.
From that team that won up, Jeremy, what do you think?
From this game?
Just in general, just in NYCFC's history.
Okay. Let me think. It would probably have to be Morales. No, you could make a Sean Johnson case. I think he's the only one who would otherwise be there. But there's only been one guy who has, I'd say, entered club legend status for them, and that would be Maxi Morales. I mean, what are you gonna do? Put up a Lampard and Pirlo statue there? No, you're not. You're gonna put one up for the guy who actually turned the team into legitimately good, and not just scored a bunch of goals for a team that just stumbled into the playoffs every year like David Villa did.
Tati Castellanos.
Castellanos not there long enough.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I wouldn't say he's there long enough either.
All right, guys. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
Red Bull's good guy.
Oh,
Red Bull's
NYC
good
bad
guys
guy.
pretty. Yeah, Red Bull's good guy is pretty easy, particularly because I think Juanners alluded to this a little bit earlier. There was an incident like a few like closer to like 7-8 years ago of one of these games happening at what's now Sports Illustrated Stadium, which used to be Red Bull Arena, and NYCFC fans started ripping out the chairs. So I'm friends with a couple of Red Bull fans, and they made the joke that they ripped out the chairs because their fans just eat the chairs. They just start getting their forks and knives, dumping them with barbecue sauce, and then they start ingesting the hard plastic of stadium seating. So I thought that was hilarious, and for that joke alone, and then like something that happened in 2021 that will forever make me hate the New York City Football Club. Red Bulls are easily the good guy because
Who
they
you
do
got,
not
Josh?
eat furniture.
Can I say that City Football Group versus Red Bull Football Group is actually both bad? Both bad guys? Are we taking that answer? Or is that too cop out?
No,
That's too cop out. You got to give one.
I think it's valid because my main thing with the Red Bulls is part of why I give them good guy status here is because they are an original. They were the Metro Stars, so I kind of see them as the Metro Stars before I see them as the Red Bulls fully. I wish they would go back to the Metro Stars, but I agree. Fuck City Football Groups. Fuck Red Bull. Fuck these fucking corpo fucking orgs, bro. I hate that shit. I do think that shit's one of the most manufactured bullshit when it comes to the league. So I'm with Joss on this one. It's not a cop out.
I'm gonna take NYCFC only because Red Bull fans don't show up to games. They don't even like their own team. And do you guys remember like 3 years ago? I forget who the player was. I don't think he plays for him anymore. I don't think he's in the league anymore. But he had a frustration foul on him, and in frustration, in return, he took a ball and kicked it up, and it slammed into a fan's face like 10 rows up.
Yes.
You don't remember that?
Oh, who was that?
KC, that was at Children's Mercy Park. That was Kaku.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God, Kaku!
Yeah.
Another DP
We are
failure.
anti-Red Bulls for that.
Yep. Matt Beasley almost killed Kaku, bro. I'll be honest, dog.
Man, that's a deep cut right there.
They did a news story on it. Hold on, I forgot about that. Hold on, they did a news story on it and everything. The guy had to like go to the doctor.
Shit, that is those rough days.
Yeah, he got hit in the head with a ball, and yeah, damn, bro. He had to go to urgent care and everything after that.
Yeah, he got fucked up.
Yeah.
Let's head over to the box state. We'll talk some Rapid Salt Lake here. Don't even gotta ask you guys who the good guy here is. I think it goes without saying on this here turf. Maybe I should have invited a Salt Lake fan just to make the case, but not tonight. Not on this evening. For this one, I'm kind of interested to see what you guys thought of it. I have plenty of thoughts to share about it on Burgundy Banter. Obviously, I lost my voice. I was in attendance for this one. I know Jeremy's got some Salt Lake takes, but I mean, I guess I'll go with Jeremy. What'd you make of this one? If you caught it, and you know, I guess you can also let me know how shit RSL are, because I know you have that sentiment as well.
I will gladly indulge in both. First of all, the Rapids really needed to win this game, and they did. So I feel great about that. Because Juanners, I'm just gonna say it, I don't view them as a playoff team right now. But there's nothing you can do there's nothing better to do than like change that sentiment around your team than by beating your rivals. And that's what they had to do. They did it. Georgi Mihailovic, who famously said, and I quote, "up the fucking pids." Well, he did live up to that credence that he laid out. I can't remember what game he was. I think it was a Leagues Cup game that he did it. Was that the Club America game? Afterwards,
it was either that one or the one right before.
Yeah. So either way, like, congratulations to Georgi Mihailovic. who has spent a good part of this year just toiling around doing everything for this Rapids team with no wingers and whatever formation Armis is trying to install now, which is still 4-2-2-2. But I feel like for this game, it really spoke more to first of all RSL's complete lack of depth at the back line, because they do not. This was when Justin Glad returned to play in this game after being suspended for midweek game against Portland. He is their only healthy center back. That's a problem. Somehow that center backless RSL team got a clean sheet against Portland in midweek. I hated that. I was kind of okay with it going away from the stadium, just like, like there were 3 big chances that fell to Portland at the end of this game, at the end of that midweek game, and Rafael Cabral just came up huge. I feel like he needs to be talked about a little more as one of the more underrated signings in the league, because if you put Zach McMath, a healthy Zach McMath, or Gavin Beavers on this RSL team, they could very easily be like in a Galaxy spot, like just with how bad the Galaxy have been. And also, I do have a little bit of a trouble in paradise thing. Diego Luna only played an hour of this game. When he got subbed off, he did not look happy. I don't know why he wasn't on the field anymore, but Pablo Mastroeni, who was once a Colorado Rapid and is very familiar with the box state, I think he decided, Pids get this one. Up the fucking Pids, just like Georgi Mihailovic.
Yeah. I mean, and you can hit the button too, right? Midweek really affected this one. I think it helped the Rapids because Rapids rotated midweek and they came back with a slightly stronger. I mean, they didn't have Stefan or Navajo, and they still won. And so, as a more critical voice on both of those two players, considering they make considerably more money than the rest of the squad, to see the team win without them, you kind of have questions about the spending there. But again, talk about it more on Burgundy Banter. Daniel, do you have any closing thoughts on this one? And take us to the next one too. We got some more. We got about 3 more rivalry matches, but we have a spiritual one in there as well if you want to get to that one.
So I think we can all agree as just fans of footy that we would kill to have a Georgi Mihailovic or a Cole Bassett on our teams. Those guys are absolutely electric, and I disagree with Jeremy's take of they are not a playoff team right now, which, okay, maybe not right now, but I do believe that they are either a Theo DiPietro or a summer signing on the right wing away from being a legitimate like Western Conference contender. And it kind of sucks right now because that middle of the Western Conference is super stacked. Like the top of the East, I feel like is better than the top of the West, but that middle pack of the West is such a dogfight right now with so many like teams that if they made a run, I would not be shocked. So I think Colorado has pieces. I think they're really, really, really good with those pieces, and I think they're probably a right wing away or a Theo DiPietro away if he ends up fitting in with his team like I know Juanners hopes he does. I think they're that piece away from being legitimately good. I don't have anything to say about RSL. They're really boring to watch outside of Diego Luna.
I'll have some more Teddy thoughts on Burgundy Banter, but where do you want to go next, Daniel?
Oh, I want to talk about Seattle and Portland because I feel like that game was a little bit less electric than I think we all thought it was going to be. And I really want to hear Jeremy's thoughts on Seattle. Not his thoughts on Portland, just his thoughts on Seattle. Because I have that listed as the number 1 rivalry in the MLS. Not manufactured, just your hatred. Like those two, they just hate each other. It's freaking awesome.
Okay.
What do you got?
What
do you got for me?
This is the perfect spot to get to the overarching theme of this entire rivalry week, which was MLS's gigantic failure to schedule this particular rivalry week after a midweek slate that they scheduled. And the first midweek slate of the year, too, at that. So when you have that, and you have players like, keep in mind, both Seattle and Portland rotated on Wednesday. Seattle rotated like a fair amount more, and they got pantsed by LAFC. Usually what happens down there for them, aside from last year's playoffs. But Portland rotated like a little bit, not as much. They rotated center back. They rotated a couple midfield for the RSL game, and that didn't work out. They weren't able to get the win. But still, it's a road point and a clean sheet. So you kind of got to take that back to Portland with you as you prepare for a date with your biggest rivals. Now, what I'm going to do here, Daniel wants me to talk about Seattle. I am going to talk about Seattle. And more importantly, I'm going to talk about Brian Schmetzer, because this might sound controversial. I don't know if I've ever said this, but on this pod, I might have alluded to it before, but there is no one who I would rather have coach the Seattle Sounders than Brian Schmetzer. And it's purely because he is the only person that is uniquely qualified to be a Seattle Sounders head coach, because not only did he play for the team, he was a coach for them in the NASL before they joined MLS. He's been an assistant for forever, and he finally got his chance to be the head coach. He is a man who is living his dream, and there is nothing that he hates more than failing to beat the Portland Timbers. And I love him for that, because that's what this rivalry should be. It should be, because there is an actual generational hate here. There isn't the type of manufactured, even Cincy Columbus is manufactured to a degree, but because it's two different cities, I let it slide. All of the South rivalries, like Atlanta versus Miami, Atlanta versus Orlando, Atlanta versus kind of anyone, Atlanta versus their own fans even. All of that is manufactured. But the generational hate that occurs up in the Pacific Northwest between Portland and Seattle, who are the two American representatives of this, which is why any Cascadia game in Vancouver doesn't really carry the same weight, because at the end of the day, both fan bases are you know what, let Vancouver have their fun, which I'm kind of trying to come around to, despite the fact of how much I hate their squad. But for this game, Schmetzer, if you have ever watched one of his post-game press conferences, which are usually pretty entertaining because he likes to get angry during them. And do you know what he does in these press conferences when he's angry? He doesn't yell or anything, but he always brings a notepad into the press conference because he's been taking notes the entire game. It's usually what he does. Phil Neville, he's up on the sideline. He's demonstrative. He's yelling to all of his players. Schmetzer's usually sitting on the bench just taking notes on his notepad. And in order to take a note on a notepad, you have to have a writing utensil. Schmetzer prefers a ballpoint pen. If he is pissed off in these press conferences, you come in and you just hear these pen clicks. He starts aggressively clicking the ballpoint pen. And it's my favorite bit that he does. He cannot help himself with this. I remember I think the most notable post-match press conference that Schmetzer's ever had against the Timbers was when they lost 4-1 in Providence in 2023 after Dairon Espria's bicycle kick tied the game for Portland, and then they just ran away with it for the rest of the game. He was talking about how the players on the team and some coaching staff were just all smiles after that, after they lost 4-1 at the home of their biggest rivals. This man is furious, and he's sitting there in this press conference and he's clicking his pen. Not only that, but he's taking his little notepad and he's slamming it on the table for repeat, we need to remind them that this is a rivalry, and he keeps on slamming them. By the way, that was let me think, how many Cascadia derbies have happened since then? There were 3 last year. There were 2 for the rest of that. There's this year makes 6. They've only won 1 of those 6, by the way. So I guess you did a great job of communicating that message, Brian. Did you bring the pen into the locker room and click it there too? Is all of his week spent preparing for this game, clicking this pen? Because it certainly isn't picking the right lineup for it. Did you think Jesus was going to start on the wing in this one? I didn't. I saw it the second that lineup notification popped up in my when I was sitting up in the press box, I laughed. I let a laugh escape my lips. I started cackling. I was like, what is he thinking for this? And Schmetzer, for all of like the good that he's brought the Seattle Sounders, like all the trophies and blah, 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 whatever, he always falls over himself in these games. In 2023, that game that he was so mad that he was slamming the notebook on the table after the game, he was pissed because he subbed in Hey Bear in like the 65th minute for Leo Chu. Leo Chu, by the way, who was Seattle's best player in that game up until the point he came off. And he was asked a question about it in the press conference. And he just like was like, I'll take full responsibility for that. That was my decision. He's saying that as he's clicking his pen. So he believes it was the right choice because Brian Schmetzer is as stubborn as the ocean. I started calling him the Ocean Man. Nothing will ever change his mind as to what he's done well, what he's done wrong. He believes that he can do it all because, after all, he's a man from Seattle, and he knows if there's one thing people from Seattle know, it's that they're always right. And Brian Schmetzer, in his mind, is always right.
I'm going to interrupt you here. I'm going to play devil's advocate just for a second.
Is this
Brian
not fair?
Schmetzer is the only active MLS coach who is currently on pace to eventually break Bruce Arena's points record. The only other active coach who can come close, and he won't be in the league long enough, probably not, is Wilfred Nancy.
The reason why he's done that, mind you, is because he isn't playing the Timbers every week. Like, for all the success that the Seattle Sounders have had since Schmetzer took over, which includes all their MLS Cups and that nonsense CCL that they were lucky to qualify for, it's because they just don't play the Timbers. Schmetzer has never beaten the Timbers in the playoffs. His predecessor, Siggy Schmidt, failed to do so, too. There was a point where Portland had such a firm grip on this rivalry that was interrupted minorly last year when both teams were utter dog shit last May, when it was basically like, we don't want to be bottom of the West in mid-May, and Seattle nicked a 2-1 victory at Providence Park. That was the only time since their 6-2 game in 2021 where they used up all their goals, mind you, because goals are a finite resource. It was the only time since that 6-2 game where they've actually beaten the Timbers. This has been Portland's rivalry, and I think the Timbers actually dropped the ball more in this game. So I'm more disappointed with the fact that they had one shot on goal and they only had 4 shots at home, but that one shot on goal was a goal, and it was a result, and they didn't lose. And as Schmetzer was approaching that press conference, which I saw him after the games, he was approaching the room for the press conference, I could hear the pen clicks echoing underneath Providence Park. That was great.
I have a question for you, Jeremy, about Portland before we get on to another rivalry. Dario Zuparic, how he's been getting some minutes recently. I know it kind of calls for it in the midweek spell. I'm kind of upset we're not seeing Ian Smith, who kind of, had a little bit of a good spell of games. What are you making of Zuparic as he's kind of? I mean, Finn Sermon is, probably one of the best U22 defenders in the league, easily. But beyond Finn Sermon, is there a path for Zuparic, or is he just rotational?
Zuparic only really started being rotational once these midweek games kicked in to slate. Phil Neville's primary center back partnership has been Kamal Miller and Finn Sermon since the team got enough attackers to not play a back three. But I like that Ian Smith mentioned, because I saw him best as the left side center back in a back three. I haven't seen enough good from him playing in the middle of that back four, as one of the center backs there. I think he could do it, but it's also a little bit of a steeper learning curve for him to do that. Not everyone can be Jansen Miller, right? So yeah. So I do believe that Ian Smith, more than anything, he needs some more minutes with the second team just to be match fit. but I think I see his future at least in a back four as a left back. And Zuperich, by the way, who did come in for Kamal Miller at halftime for this game after Kamal got a yellow card and was beaten by Danny Musovski, of all people, on Seattle's only goal. I think that Zuperich does have the opportunity to still earn that starting spot next to Finn Sermon, because Finn Sermon's absolutely undroppable. He is unbelievable. I will be seeing him in person at the 2026 World Cup. Wherever he goes, I will have to follow, because I follow Finn Sermon to the end of the earth if I have to.
Where do you want to go next, Jeremy?
Okay, which one?
Wait. Good guy, bad guy.
I mean, it goes
good
without.
guy, bad guy.
I don't think we have to, do we? Unless
Yes, we
Daniel
do.
really wants to rock the boat here.
I'm rocking the boat. Seattle, good guy. Portland, bad guy. Give me the CCC champion.
Joss?
I'm afraid of what Jeremy is going to do. Portland Timbers are clearly the good guys. Seattle Sounders are clearly the evil empire.
I will step in here and I will say, having been to both, having been to Portland and Seattle for an away day experience, Portland clears Seattle. And not only that, if there's a team I hate way more than Real Salt Lake, it's the Seattle Sounders. Seattle Sounders are the number one heel, in my opinion. They are the ultimate bad guys in all of MLS.
Absolutely correct.
Zero
And also,
shots
I'd like to
on target in a playoff match, right?
in a cup final
Cup
that they
final.
won.
Yes. Bullshit.
Fucking final. And,
That's some rapid shit. That's some rapid shit. I'm sorry, but.
Yep. And I would like to add one last point on this. My seat in the press box is directly, like, it's closer to the away section than it is to the home section. LAFC fans were louder at this game when LAFC came to town earlier this year. It's not even something that surprised me anymore. It just always happens. Whenever I go up to Lumen and I'm covering the game and I'm still, like, right next to the Seattle section, I still hear all the way in the other corner of a football stadium the Portland away section louder than just the, like, outnumbered ECS or the outnumbering ECS right in front of me. It's a tale as old as time. They only cheer when they're, like, doing well, or when there's, like, a sign in the stadium, because they, like, pump their chants in. They put them on the video board so the entire stadium knows what to do. It's really dumb. It's really, really, really dumb.
Of the three rivalry matches, we got the spiritual one. Haven't mentioned it yet. Dallas, Houston Dynamo.
Let me go for the spiritual one.
All right, let's go to it, because
I wanted it.
Bruce returns to New England. They were all hugs over there, but of course none of the media covered that, because, I mean, both fan bases really have there's no heat here. And Bruce rotated San Jose, and God, San Jose still looked better than New England. I don't know how with a B team, but kind of, I kind of wanted to put this as the Bruce Derby, because that's really what it was. Anyone have any thoughts on this one?
I have a name that I think could be used.
Okay.
For this derby. Well, as long as it remains in the
Rotation of matches.
Of course. Yeah, I had Firing Squad Fiesta as my name. Firing Squad because Bruce got fired and we aren't sure why. And also have a firing squad. Or they have in the past, where they have, like, the gun salute for every goal. And then Fiesta just because San Jose, Hispanic population. I thought it would be a nice little touch to that. But that was the name that I came up with on a whim when writing my notes. So give me your thoughts.
On the name or
on the name?
I like it. I mean, I don't know if the league's gonna come knocking at your door for the IP, but because it just doesn't roll off as well. But
I'll be ready.
maybe the Coast to Coast Classic. I don't know.
Oh, El Costico.
Oh, it's only fitting that Bruce is, like, the headline for it, but another 0-0, man. And San Jose have had a stretch of Eastern Conference teams. They had Miami at home, Before that, I forget who they had. I think they were against a Western Conference team. Was that Portland?
They won the game. I know they won it. Let me see. They're unbeaten in their last 5, by the way. San
And that's
Jose.
all DeJuan Jones, baby. So if anyone's benefited from this, it's DeJuan Jones finding form on San Jose underneath Bruce Arena. I love Bruce, man. Like I don't know what he did to get fired, besides whatever rumors I had heard, but I mean he had a crazy quote about I'm butchering it right now, but he had a crazy quote about, I think it's that's like saying JFK shot Lee Harvey Oswald. He said then the post presser, man. Like this dude is just, man, I yearn for a Bruce Arena led Rapid squad just to be in the press room, just listen to him, man. But not much to this one, just a 0-0. New England is still boring. Thomas Chankalai can officially put him in the bin. I think he needs a move ASAP out of there. I don't think it's gonna work. Him or Luca Langoni is just dropped off the face of the earth. Any other thoughts on this one, guys? I'm this is just gonna be me hyping Bruce right now, and this is kind of what we were hoping for the Quakes, right? Just this, we always knew he can kind of do this kind of magic with a turnaround.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joss.
We got a Palmer restart at right wing, so we're reaching Bruce levels that really haven't been seen before. We're kind of in uncharted territory.
And Paul Marie is he's not, if I had to rank all 680 plus whatever MLS players, he's hanging around the 600s. But
which is kind of weird. It's kind of funny that he got this random start at right wing, especially given that he is a fullback.
Yeah.
But this is Bruce Ball, and who are we to deny the Godfather?
Exactly.
I also wanted to note that I thought that Gillette looked pretty full for this game, given that even though it was a 0-0, and so that could only be because of Daniel's truth to Carlos Hill's MVP candidacy. So New England Revolution ticket sales, if you're listening, Venmo Daniel, because he's the reason that happened.
Yeah, Daniel, you had a thought as well.
You lead me to my next point. I see Daniel got subbed out in the 46th minute. I did not get to catch this game. What is he okay? He's one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Like, was he subbed out because they were just doing load management, or did he get hurt?
I think
he got hurt.
Yeah, there's some lingering fitness issues, and I think he got hurt.
Earl.
That's a huge. But
Earl Edwards stepped up for this one. That one was crazy. I did not expect
it was a
clean
revenge
sheet.
game for him too.
Mm-hmm. Plenty of X's in this one, dude. It was I'm sure a bunch of players in that 11 shared the locker room, right, across everyone. Nick Limo was in there as well. That dude went from San Jose to New England. Bruce dipped, and then he went back to San Jose. So, oh man, the firing squad derby, or firing squad fiesta.
Yeah, it's catching on.
Firing squad fiesta.
All right, coast to go.
I do have one point for this game really quickly to make. Another all-time Caleb Porter face after Ganago's goal was ruled offside.
Yeah, he can't buy a goal, man. Are you guys extending that loan or buying or purchasing him? What's the case on Ganago? For the
Buy
cast?
for the vibes. Extend for the vibes. Let him go back because he's not a very good player.
He's fun. I think he's fun though, right?
He's definitely fun.
I think he's one of the more exciting players on this Revolution team. And he played at striker in this game, which he's not normally played at. So I think, this game's kind of it's a weird one to look at in terms of keeping him or not. But I think we got to keep as many fun players as we can in this league. I'm fun, guys. Remember, Joss is fun. Everyone remember. And so I'm also pro fun. And so for that reason, I say keep.
Jeremy?
I'm also on the keep. I think he can do more. I really think he can do more. I'm kind of getting like Frank Bully vibes a little bit.
Ooh, that's a name
That's a
drop.
pull. That's a pull. But like I'm feeling it because like Frank Bully, he came in, he was snake bitten in front of goal for a little bit. Like that man, he'd like have a really good chance. He'd either put it right at the goalkeeper, he'd miss the target. He just looked so depressed afterwards. And I always felt bad for him for it. So like Ganago is now in my sympathy pool, which means I will always be rooting for him.
Valid. That's fair enough. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to FC Dallas Houston Dynamo. This is not the first time they will have played each other. They actually saw each other in the opener, a match that did not get much hype because, I mean, heading into the season, no one really knew what they were going to be. And, man, Dallas got pummeled here. Among the most narrow playing teams in the league, I'll say, just because they have no width whatsoever here. But of all the rivalries, man, the Copa Texas Clasico, it's not lived up to any of the hype. Both of these, I mean, Houston are kind of a more negative type playing style, heavy possession. But Dallas are fucking so mid, man. This one was Houston off an amazing Jack McGlynn banger. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but him at the right wing spot,
dude.
he was the Carrasquilla replacement, not necessarily the Herrera replacement. I'm kind of interested to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe we'll start with Daniel here.
My big takeaway here, and this is really a question for Joss, are we ready to walk back the Peter Musa hype yet?
So Jack McGlynn in this game, guys. I thought Jack was out. No, I'm not. He's been injured. He's been out injured. It's hard to, it's hard to come back off of an injury and instantly hit the ground running. I still think that I'm still a big fan of Peter Musa. I still think he is a top 3 striker in the league, but I would have liked to see him do a little better in his return. He only got 45 minutes in this game. So I'm not willing to say, yep, this is the end, the be all end all. But I would have liked to see him obviously perform a little better on his way back. Especially given that Anderson Julio almost had a worldie of a goal from the halfway line. If you guys saw that, which
I did see that.
Great on save, but I would like to see Peter Musa maybe try something like that just to help a brother out here. But I guess he hasn't listened to any of the recent episodes, and that's fine. That's fine. But I would have just preferred that. I'm not ready yet, though. Is my short answer.
Okay, and my other big take here is we said a lot of things in the preseason podcast, and we were right about a few things. We were wrong about a lot of things. But man, were we right about the Luciano Acosta takes that we had like 14 weeks ago now.
Did you listen back? What were some of the highlights there? Because I think I remember.
I did listen back. I just remember the conversation. We said in our second podcast ever, we said that he would be the biggest transfer flop. And I think that's kind of panned out. Would you guys pay $5 million for Luciano Acosta right now on your team?
Yes, because I think Luciano Acosta would fit the Rapids right now. You would probably, I don't know about SKC.
Wouldn't he take Jordy's spot?
No, he would play opposite.
Because he fits centrally, doesn't he?
Well, I think they would play him as an inside forward with Georgie on his opposite side, and kind of go Christmas tree formation. But I think the larger point here is you can't have Luciano Acosta if you have your defenders being Uriarte, who is really, really good. I do like his game, but behind that you have Sebastian Ibiaga and then Lalas Abubakar. And when they played all three of them as like a 3-back, they just got fucking demolished. So I mean, instantly, like I kind of knew that was going to be Dallas's biggest Achilles heel. Shaq Moore at this point should be a center back. I don't know why he is still offering very little to nothing at the right back position. And Nolan Norris is not a. I think I have him more as a holding midfielder than I do as a left back. So. I mean, it's just, Dallas just, I mean, they don't have a defense. That's really what it comes down to.
They really don't. They just have like a bunch of players who can play in multiple different roles, but like I feel like if you're still like okay, Quill has been juggling this team around like since he took over. Does he know the best way for this team to line up? No, he doesn't. Does he think that like does he think that he'll figure it out eventually? He just got to keep trying shit. Just keep throwing stuff at the wall, which, by the way, none of those things that he's throwing at the wall involves Patrickson Delgado, which does annoy me, who I think is the forgotten man there. He was fantastic for them last year, especially once Peter Luson took over as the interim after Estevez was fired. I really just believe that I can't even tell you what Dallas's best look would look like because they're just such a weird team. They're just such a collection of guys, more so than like a cohesive unit. Like you think you could put some players in some positions, but you really can't. And Acosta isn't like Acosta's biggest strength is being able to work around the players around him. And with Musa out for such a long time, I think it's really like kind of nerfed his adjustment to this Dallas team as well.
Yeah.
I think that this Dallas team is kind of like it is an adjustment of it is an assortment of guys, but it's almost like an assortment of like track stars on a bachelor party, in that they're all like willing, powerful runners. It's just there just feels like there is a lack of cohesion. And Lucho Acosta is the groom to be, some would say, in that he's like orchestrating things. Everything good goes through Lucho Acosta, I think. And for a lot of this first half, it was kind of the Lucho Acosta game, but in that he was just orchestrating things. The willing runners were able to get beyond him, and he was able to pick them out and everything. But it just there was no finishing, there was no penetration. It was a group of track stars on a bachelor party at a strip club. That's kind of the best analogy that I want to give for this right now. In that there were lots of runners and a groom to be who was clearly orchestrating things, but no penetration, and that's where Dallas fell short.
If I'm Dallas, I'm looking at fullbacks at this point, and maybe another center back. Kind of a guy there, because I think I agree with what you said, Joss. I think it would be a lot easier to build some cohesion if you're not, conceding, so many goals and just, leaving so much up for your defense to scramble. I mean, there's only so much Urquidy can do here, and he's a good piece to build around. So I think they just need to. They need to, it's like when your team sucks at defense, you have to go out and get a guy that's just going to lock it down, Like this is kind of like one of the first humps you have to take as a bad team. And I'll say, like, there's not a bad player on Dallas, they're just a bad team, if that makes sense. I mean, well, the center backs I did just grill, but beyond that, like the attack I think is there. It's just you need to build before it can, really go off anywhere. Another team. Oh, go ahead.
Wait, did we talk Houston at all?
I mean,
because I felt like Houston, like shout out to Jack McGlynn. Obviously, I've been seeing. You can go back and look at the old clips and everything. I loved the signing, and I thought, like, damn, like I think he is. I want to make sure I get this stat right before I say anything else, but he's more than halfway to eclipsing his best career year in terms of goals and assists, which is crazy. So that he's doing really well, and that goal was unbelievable. If you guys haven't seen it, and
it was gorgeous.
Also Griffin Dorsey. I know Griffin Dorsey can be pretty polarizing, but I think he's to be a villain, and I saw a little bit of Jamie Vardy, I think, in his goal celebration. He did like an Eagles flap. It reminded me a lot of what Jamie Vardy scored against Crystal Palace, and he did the same thing. Obviously, he's scoring away in Dallas, so that's fun. But I love a player that loves to be the villain and that's Griffin Dorsey.
My
Guys.
big
If he was if he was a real shithouser, they would have done like a bullfighting celebration.
That's true. That's a good point.
What were you gonna say, Daniel?
Yeah, just real quick before you have your final thoughts and we do the good guy, bad guy. So who has the sweeter left foot, Carl's Gill or Jack McGlynn?
Ooh.
Carl's Gale, man.
I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, but Jack McGlynn can hit absolute piss missiles from like out of nowhere too.
He
And
needs
it's
more of
freaking
them.
awesome. I love it.
But I am reminded of the Carl's Gill goal from against Toronto, and that one just replays in my head throughout the days. So
The volley.
yes, it's so good.
Carlos got a bit of more finesse, I think, right now. He's just got a bit more finesse with that left foot, and that goes into being sweet.
And pedigree.
Not to sound like a foot fetishist here talking about sweet feet, but
Man, you're giving me a lot of like good options for the pod, like sweet feet, good guys, bad
Foot fetish?
guys,
State Footy foot fetish.
firing squad, Fiesta, like that.
footy fetish.
I do want to say that my reservations on Houston, like I'm waiting for Teosi Olasanya to really integrate within the squad, because then you have Olasanya, you have Andrej Linger, who is like quiet. You know, he's been very, very quietly kind of playing his game, but I mean, I thought he was also massive here. But I mean, like Houston are figuring it out, and they're a team that is not a problem yet. And once they figure it out, they will be a problem. That's kind of Ben Olsen.
Yeah.
Let's hit the last rivalry match, and I have some thoughts on it. On the eve, I guess, of Sunday here, you know, on Sunday night, we had not only a doubleheader of Inter Miami Orlando, which we'll talk about, into LA Galaxy Los Angeles FC. But these games, I think, happened at a very strategic point because Liga MX had their semifinals over the weekend on Sunday. And so if you think about the locations here, Miami, Galaxy, very dominantly like Latin bases and stuff like that. I think that was a concentrated effort to like not only feature two of your biggest matches in heavy Latin markets to kind of compete, I guess, in those local markets with Liga MX viewership, because there's plenty of Latin fans coming out to these types of games too, right? I think that's it was a good move from the league, just poorly executed following the midweek, bullshit here. Like, the midweek could not have come at a worse point, but, the league will be set to have another midweek next week. We have Open Cup this week, but Miami, Orlando. I want to open first here in thanking my MLS model, because when I told the model the stats for Miami, it said, do not take any of these stats. Do not take any of these bets. Orlando, you can confidently take Orlando. And I did. I took Orlando here as one of the bigger underdogs that the model loved. And I got to say, this very easily could have been 6-0, guys. Orlando, we have to talk about them because they are legit. They were without Atuesta, had some 0-0s in there, but they haven't lost in their last 10, I think. I'm kind of going to open it up to y'all. We'll start with Jeremy here. What'd you make of this one, and get the rest of the cast thoughts on this Sunday night soccer match?
For every single Miami game since they lost that CCL semifinal to Vancouver, that prediction from Juanners at the start of the season has been replaying over and over and over again in my mind about how Mascherano is going to lose the locker room and this team's going to face plant. Because they have. And Juanners is the all-foreseeing God of this podcast. The one who got it together and the one who awakened me to the Miami meltdown, which I frankly am loving so much. And it's because they are failing to do the basics of defending. I remember, I think it was before that Vancouver game, there were like people putting together at least the season pass people were putting together their best 11s in the season, and Dax McCarty put Noah Allen on there, and I was thinking, did you have to do that? Did you really need to put Noah Allen on this? Like, like come on, man. And this exact game, after Miami just keeps getting gashed over and over on defense, their goalkeeper is 38 years old and can't save anything. As a 38-year-old Maxi Morales, who is a field player, mind you, is just running the show in a rivalry game. It's embarrassing that Miami is like this bad, because I feel like they have the pieces to be good, and Mascherano's just refusing to do it. Like, the story should have been dropped a month ago. You have to find a way to get Hector Martinez on the pitch for this game. It's just these simple team selection errors, knowing that you're going to be putting out an 11 of at least like 3 players who aren't going to defend, and you fail to account for that. It's so funny to watch. It's so satisfying, gratifying, and credit to Orlando, because even though Miami's going to be like the main headliner from this, this was Orlando's game. This was their true moment in the sun in the Clásico del Sol.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is nice. It went over my head. Initially, not gonna lie. But that's only because, I mean, if you look at here, Messi's gone full 90 the last 5 matches, even through midweek games. I know he's not like putting like, full, pedal to the metal pressing for I mean, he's not gonna be doing that shit. But I mean, I thought they were gonna rotate him a little bit on the road against San Jose, and they didn't. And he comes in and hasn't scored since that Minnesota match. But even then, that was a loss. Had a feel-good match against the Red Bulls, who are dog shit. But leading up to that match, I was like, the shoe's about to drop for Miami, and it fucking did here. And I love to see that Orlando is like, I mean, this is what rivalry is all about. These are the games where you see, like, I mean, coming into this match, Orlando hadn't beat Miami in the stadium, and now they go in and like they flip the narrative, and they're now one of the most dynamic attacking teams in the league. So much fun. Marco Pasalic, I think everybody collectively slept on him because we weren't sure if he was going to be the Facundo Torres replacement, and he has been. He fucking is, I will say, he's looking better than Facundo Torres. He's a fun player because he just shoots at will all the time. Open it up to Josh here. What would you make of this? And then end on Daniel here on the final rivalry match here. But what are your thoughts here, Josh?
I think that this Miami collapse is best described by the Luis Muriel goal. It was all of Miami complaining to the referee about a foul that wasn't given or whatever.
A back pass.
And it was a back pass, yeah. And 3 seconds later, Muriel was putting the ball in net, who, by the way, I was pretty critical of Muriel earlier in the season because I didn't think he wasn't as good as I thought he was going to be. But I think he's already matched his goal tally from last year. Only a little over a third of the way through the season. So I'm really happy to see that he's actually kind of come through and been a very key player for this Orlando team. But I think that there is an air of Miami players expecting everything to go their way, and when things don't, they really don't have the grit or determination to act on it and to overcome that. And I know it's kind of weird to say about the greatest player of all time and his buddies that, hey, they don't have the grit to make it in Major League Soccer, but that's kind of where I'm going with this, in that I feel like in this game they just weren't as up for it as Orlando was. They Miami were too complacent, and when things didn't go their way, they didn't double down and try and fix it. They just kind of complained, and then they got punished for it. And it's no more apparent than in that first goal for Orlando.
Daniel?
I mean, my big takeaways is Inter Miami needs to go out and replace Ustari, right? Like we imagine he's after the summer he will not be the starting goalkeeper for Inter Miami. Can we all agree?
Yes.
They have Drake Calendar.
Yeah, but they clearly don't believe in Drake Calendar anymore, which is a shame because I think he's a good goalkeeper buried on the MLS roster.
I think this is a weird twist of fate for them because they did drop Calendar only for him to now get injured, and when they could probably rely on him, too bad. You picked Ustari, you got to lay in your bed with Ustari. Childhood friend of Lionel Messi. But, I mean, I think either way, there should be a new starter in that. I'll agree. I'm going to throw a name out there. William Yarbrough just signed with Miami. You laugh, but
I know.
Oh
either
my
him
God! Isn't he 36 years old? Isn't he also old?
Younger than Ustari.
That's all that matters.
What's that rapid chant? Like, I love Yarborough.
Big motherfucker between the goal. Here's the thing.
I guess I'm starting Yarborough.
There's no Miami fan that's gonna roll with that, and that's what pains me more than anything. I don't think Miami have fans. Did you guys see the fucking tifo? I want to shit on the tifo because routinely teams shit on Miami in one way or another. They take the piss, right? And Miami just kind of takes it. Like they don't. Like I kind of want more Darth Vader vibes from them. Yeah, I guess when we talk about good guys, bad guys, I'm sure we're gonna say Miami's the bad guy here. There could have been an argument for Orlando because they have some kind of insufferable fans, not gonna lie, but memorable fans, and that's the thing. It's like Miami have very little, like, I don't know, like not only just fans but ball knowers, I guess, within their fan base. It does just seem like messy stands coming from Miami. What do you guys think?
I love that take because it's kind of like they have big club signings. You wish their fans acted like they had a big club. Instead, it's just like fans of players, and it doesn't feel as authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else is with me on that.
Inter Miami bad guys, Orlando good guys.
I think they are not. They weren't there. Like, I hate to say it, but they weren't there for the hard times. They weren't there for the Higuain brothers.
Seguin. That's a second Seguin mention.
They weren't showing up for it, and so they aren't emotionally invested. Like, I mean, I can tell you exactly the worst times that I've spent as a Sporting Kansas City fan, and I can tell you the best times. And it is those bad times that make the good times, and it's those bad times that make you just appreciate the good times so much more. And so if I'm Miami, if Miami had the fans that like other MLS clubs do, then they would remember the bad times and be so much worse with the good times.
Yeah, agreed. Jeremy?
I'm kind of with you, Juanners. I think both of them are the bad guys. It's unfortunate, but also I am an Orlando truther, and I believe that their biggest rival is actually Atlanta. So
yes, that's a good shout.
Yeah, I'm terrified that the league keeps on forcing this game, and they even gave it the Clásico del Sol rivalry. But I was very happy to see Dagger Dan provide the dagger in this.
I'm glad you brought up
that one out.
I'm glad you brought up Atlanta because that does end the rivalry segment of the pod. I mean, bulk of the pod here, which means we now turn to the bottom of the Conference Shield standings. The Supporter Shield standings, not conference. My bad. But let's start with Atlanta. I have Joss on this one, even out of a 5-4-1 with a 3 at the back. Even at a 3-4-2-1, whatever configuration that Gaffer Ronnie is doing, I feel like every week we come on here, we say we watch this fucking team, that has a deep pocketbook, just throw their money away, and we yell at Gaffarani. Is there anything different here, Joss, when it comes to our Atlanta coverage so far?
I hate being confused about what Atlanta are doing. I'm sick of it. This shouldn't be like a calculus class, but feeling every time I watch, I feel like I just don't understand what's going on. Like I can't see the vision on the blackboard. Like I just don't understand what Gaffarani's putting out there. And I mean, like I want to sum it up in that I felt like Atlanta's best creators in this game were their fullbacks, Brooks Lennon and Amador, which is fine. It's fine to have creative fullbacks. Maybe it's not so fine for them to be the best creators, but especially not when you've spent money on Miguel Almiron, Saba Lobjanidze, and the fake Moranchuk. I think that they got the wrong guy on accident. That Amador and Brooks Lennon should not be the most dangerous creators on the team. But especially in this game, watching Atlanta, that's what happened. So I'm honestly struggling to find the words for it. Latte Loth was benched. I'm guessing it was for load management. I haven't heard if you guys know. But I'm guessing it was for load management. But I mean, the fact that he got benched is kind of like, whoa, that's kind of a call, like clearly things aren't going to plan. So benching the record transfer in league history is going to have to be the choice here. But like, wow, I just didn't expect it. We also, there was no fun here. There was no fun. The beatings will continue until we have fun. And right now, Atlanta fun. I mean, we didn't even get a Guzan frozen falling back into the goal type moment, which has been the only thing for Atlanta fans to really look forward to. I also wonder if every time Guzan makes a save and the Mercedes-Benz goes Goose, if maybe some fans are booing them just booze in. That's kind of what it feels like. But I mean, look, Philadelphia were a much better team. We know this. Philly are a good team, and we're going to talk about that. But I'm kind of annoyed by the penalty given here. Full disclosure, full bias. I am a defender. When I was a defender when I played. I play in an adult league where I am a defender. Abram can't really do much with his hand there. He's midair. His hand's in a pretty natural position for where it is. It's tucked into his body. It's in like within his natural silhouette. So this is another instance, Jeremy, where I would go for the sin bin or the indirect free kick because that's annoying. It's annoying when your team loses 1-0 off of a penalty, but a penalty where it's the defender really can't do much more. So I'm annoyed by that, and I'd be annoyed if I'm an Atlanta fan. But even then, they really didn't have any chances to write home about besides from pretty much the last kick of the game from Derek Williams, which led to a great save from Andrew Rick. Great name, by the way. First and last name, or two first names as a first and last name. MLS Harris. But yeah, I got nothing for Atlanta. I feel like I'm just in a calculus class trying to figure out the formula, but my vision's blurred, my head's pounding. I want to be anywhere else besides Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Between Atlanta, because I think you summed it up perfectly, and I think it sums up another team. I think you sum up DC United well as well, because everything, and that's kind of the sad state of affairs we're in right now, where DC United and Atlanta are kind of having the same issues, except one of them spent $30 million and the other is, DC United.
The other's DP plays for Atlanta United, the team that spent $30 million.
That's true. That's kind of where we're at. A little bit of a checkmate from DC after getting rid of Glitch one way or another. But let's go to Daniel, man, because we 0-0 on the road against Nashville. Don't really got to say much about the match. I could have very easily been a Nashville dub here, but what are you making of DC, man? Like, when I say that they routinely gift the ball, they're the best givers in MLS. Is that? Do you see that sentiment as well?
Kinda. I don't know. They're just such a hard team to judge because I mean they're second in the league in draws. I mean they go on these run of forms like we talked about it 2 weeks ago where they had won 3 out of 4 and we're like, look out, they can make a little bit of a run here, and never really came to fruition because it was followed up by a loss and 2 draws. So I mean, I guess it really could come to fruition. I don't know, but I pulled an interesting statistic mainly for a Charlotte stat I wanted to see, but I compared it to DC United, and they have, and this is not like a good metric by any mean, but like it's still a metric, right? Like FootMob goes through and they have their scores to get these FootMob scores. So I don't think they're the best form of like someone to see someone's true form, but they do have like decent players on a decent run of form right now. Like Sneg's playing well, Barraza's playing really well. I feel like when you have players like that allow you to go on runs of form where you can draw against Nashville, who's a very, very good team, and they kind of manhandled DC this entire game. But if you grind out draws like that and beat who you're supposed to beat, this is a team that could be sneaky if they figure out a way to gel come like the second half of the season, because that's kind of just where they put themselves at this point. Like they're kind of like on that bubble of, hey, if they go on a little bit of a run, they could be a playoff team. And I actually do think they have the pieces to either go really downhill here in the next 5 to 7 weeks or actually put on a good showing.
I'm ready for them to pick up the spoon at this point because there's plenty of teams ahead of them. I think that, I don't know, like when we talk about just guys, I think DC United is the ultimate just a bunch of guys.
This team is not worse than Montreal.
Okay. I mean, even Montreal have an identity though. I don't know.
True.
I don't know if I could say that about DC. I don't know what the identity is, but maybe we'll take that
Troy.
bet. I will ride Montreal here over DC any day of the week.
Is it just who's going to place higher in the Shield standings?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask I guess that's a good question for the panel, I guess. But DC or Montreal? Who? I mean, both teams don't have DPs essentially, but one's got Benteke, the other one's got Vrioni. Give me Vrioni in Montreal.
I'll take Montreal too. And honestly, if I was Montreal, I'd be looking to get Joao Peglo on my team.
True. I'm taking DC. DC got Benteke, and I ride with Benteke.
We got a pretty even split. What do you think, Daniel?
Do you know what my beef is right now with the DC United pessimism? Because the stat that I had pulled had blown Charlotte out of the water. So you guys are just giving me no reason to be optimistic right now.
Well, we'll get to Charlotte for sure. Next up,
I want to say one thing before we move on. DC, usually the town of DC and having a group of guys kind of wander around don't blend well. January 6th is a great example of that.
Okay, one last thing. Doesn't it feel kind of odd with a team like DC and how long they've been around and how successful they used to be that they don't have a rival for Rivalry Week?
It should be the Red Bulls.
It should be. Real truthers know.
Atlantic Cup. There's a trophy.
And MLS only recognizes the same names, apparently. Maybe if NJ United was a thing. New Jersey United versus DC United, they'd call it the United Derby or some bullshit like that. I don't know.
That'd be sick.
Right now, Atlanta DC is the United Derby because they're united in misery.
United in misery. That's another great pod title. But right now, Firing Squad Fiesta is leading. Let's move on. Austin, another 0-0 here, and this is kind of, I mean, hit the button again, right? Midweek, a lot of just tired legs. But this one, Osman Bukhari actually played on the wing. I know there's some rumors that the team was kind of down on him. I mean, same thing with these guys. There's no chance creator. There really is no sauce with this team. Even playing 5 at the back, like there was a little bit of an improvement. I thought it was a good adjustment here, but Nico Estevez is all the terrorist that we thought he was going to be. And, I mean, they shut out Vancouver here. We'll talk about Vancouver, but, I mean, is anyone really, like after St. Louis, it's like Austin is a little bit more fun to watch than them, but they are not that much better, I don't think. Does anyone want to chime in on some Austin, or are we all set to move on?
It's
I
just
don't
crazy to me that.
I don't want to give them
Sorry,
any
Jeremy.
airtime. I'm tired of them.
What were you gonna say?
It's just
Daniel?
crazy that 3 weeks ago that they were like second in the West, and we were like, are they frauds or could this be something? It turns out they were frauds.
Well,
We found out.
I kind of want to see Diego Rubio get some runouts, because when he was in there as a 10, I think it makes sense, because he's a guy that can create for other people, and he's a guy that can feed a guy like Brandon Vasquez ahead of him, or Bukhari on the right, or Razuni on his left, right? And I don't know if he's washed, but he is still one of my favorite players in this league. And I kind of want to see more from him, because he's one of those like magician type players that you really don't expect. But enough of Austin. Let's head over to Chicago, and then I guess Charlotte as well, because they're kind of stacked right on top of each other. Chicago on some rest came into Charlotte. Daniel, tell us about it, man. I know that was a very fun experience for you. Are we? It's
It was
Wilfred
wonderful.
Zaha, dude. What do you expect?
Yeah, I can't believe I bought into the hype like I did. I don't know. We'll focus on Chicago at first here, because I mean, we're gonna talk about the game as a whole, but we're gonna focus on Chicago because they were the real winners. Guys, I think I'm ready to say Bamba was probably the signing of the winter, or one of them, like a top 3 easily. That's how impactful he's been. And Brian Gutierrez, there needs to be a conversation when people talk about how good Diego Luna is. Brian Gutierrez needs to be in that same exact conversation, because I mentioned on the pod like 5 weeks ago. I brought it up on Twitter a couple times and got like lambasted over it, just like giving him U.S. men's national team shouts. But like he's really good, man. And he just kind of works in this system really, really well. And watching them flow with Kuipers, Bamba, Gutierrez, like they're just dangerous, man. And they just throttled Charlotte. And granted, Charlotte's back line has been an absolute nightmare now. I mean, I don't even know if I can call this a good win for Chicago right now, which sounds really, really bad, but Charlotte's they are literally the worst team in the MLS in the last 5 games. Like, that's not even like it's like statistically true. Like, there is no team on a worse run of form in the MLS right now than Charlotte FC. And it's tough. I mean, offensively, they're really bad. And it goes to show that like that's how important Pep Biel was before he got hurt against who was it, Nashville 5 weeks ago. I remember we went out and we were talking about his fitness. But we were like, man, like how is it if he's not fit or if he's not having a great run of form, like how are they going to perform like on this stretch of games that they have here in May? And I straight up told Jeremy they're going to be fine as long as Pep Biel's fine. And yeah, they're not fine. It's really hard to watch. They don't have their midfield figured out at all. I don't know why Diani's in. Tim Ream is not. He's past it. I'm ready to say that.
Yes.
Andrew Privet and Malanda. I don't know. At this point, I don't know. I mean, Malanda I still believe in, but Privet, he's the dominant of the two. I think right now he's the better of the two. And Kalina, that boy is like rattled in the head. I am not sure. My only bright spot that I had for the last 2 to 3 weeks was Nick Scardina. I was like, maybe he can show us something, and then we don't need to go sign someone to replace Byrne. And even he's been disappointing. So I don't know, man. I'm ready to give up on the Leal Bada project as well.
Dang.
We need a new striker and two new wingers.
Damn.
Just replace them.
Remember though, but if Pep Biel's here, it's gonna be fine, right? We'll be fine.
Well,
No.
I want to come to
I
Charlotte's
don't want to go.
defense here because there is a player they're missing. It's not Pep Biel. It's Suleiman Doumbia. They're Doumbia.
Yes, they
And-
played significantly better when he was on the left, like playing left back for sure.
And the team is, the team is trying to force Tim Ream in here. Tim Ream is broken. I don't know what the fuck happened to this dude, but I don't know if it was the recent spell with the national team, but ever since then, he's come back just a bum, dude. Like on every Charlotte goal or conceded goal, he is always in some way not where he's supposed to be, getting caught out. Players just drift around him. He is like a black hole on the back line, and I think it really is just him. Like week after week after week after week. I'm seeing the Privet and Malanda discourse here. I think they are still two of the most solid center backs in the league. You just need that left back that's going to actually work with Zaha, because now we're starting to see the Zaha kind of mentality take a little bit of a stumble here. Interested to hear what the rest of the cast has to say. Before we do, though, Daniel, do you remember my pitch to you about Chicago? Did that play in your head over and over and over again as Chicago just destroyed Charlotte here?
I hate all of you. Yes, yes, it did.
Because I remember I had to fight for Chicago there, man, and again, they didn't even start Kwame, who I think should get some starts, but. Jeremy, Joss, any of you guys have some thoughts on either Charlotte or Chicago here?
I'm glad that Brian Gutierrez is getting the recognition that he deserves. I don't know. I love what Greg Berhalter can do with his player management. And I really feel like Brian Gutierrez has taken a step up. And I don't know. I know he's been around forever, right? Like, I remember him as a 17-year-old. And we were like, is this the step to take the step up? But now it feels like this is where he's kind of like he's hitting his stride at the right time.
My only Charlotte thought is just about Kalina. He took a knock in the head against Columbus. I think he's been playing through a concussion ever since. He does not look right out there. And as soon as that first goal was let into his own net, which was a quality strike from Jonathan Bamba, but like at the same time, I'm thinking that's a little bit savable. You should be able to save that, but his positioning completely lets him down. So my question to Daniel is, does Christian Kalina have a concussion? And if your answer is no, why is he playing like this?
My answer is I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but these are saves that he would have made last year. Yes, so something is off, and I don't know if it's off with the communication that was excellent last year with Privet and Malanda, or I don't know if it's because he had the concussion. Like I don't know, but I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I hope the concussion theory is right, because that means it's going to get better. So I guess thanks for that sliver of hope.
Let's stick with you.
Provided.
Let's stick with you here, Daniel. Head over to Nashville, next in the standings. And it's very funny. Nashville, of course, were kind of unconvincingly beat by Charlotte, and ever since that loss to Charlotte, have just been on a tear, calmly sliding into the top three of the Eastern Conference. Kind of a more of a dull match here against DC. Again, hit the button, right? But what'd you make of Nashville? What are you making of Nashville so far?
Guys, I gave this shout at the very beginning of this podcast when I said Henny Mukhtar was my dark horse MVP candidate. If he plays like this the rest of the year, he actually could be in that conversation. We were picking on him for the first, 7 match weeks, saying he couldn't find the back of the net. Since then, he and Nashville have been on an absolute tear. And this tie to DC United does not look great on paper, but they throttled them. They couldn't find the back of the net. Teal Bunbury got the start over Sam Surge. That's the really only big lineup takeaway I have here, but it was a winnable game for them, and they played against a very, very heavily rotated New England Revolution team, which I didn't even touch on that for some reason.
DC.
But sorry, DC United team. But yeah, no, I don't really have a lot to say about Nashville outside of they're very good. They're legitimately a top 4 or 5 team in the East right now in just terms of run of form, honestly.
BJ Callahan, kind of.
BJ Ball, baby.
I was a little bit of a doubter of him, just kind of having the assistant, kind of. I don't know if that's a stigma, I guess, but I remember when he was the USMNT coach for a little bit. All of the USMNT fanboys were just in love with anyone but Greg, and him now at Nashville and even beating Greg, I thought was a good feather in his cap, and he's surprising me a little bit, honestly. So I like to see that. One last thing here, and no Jason Palacios, Chris Applewhite, young teenage center back getting a start. When have we ever seen Nashville develop young players, right? And this guy, I thought he was all right. Definitely want to see some more of him. We might see him in the Open Cup, hopefully. But is anyone want to take a Nashville? Do you have any thoughts, Joss, or do you want to head into San Diego?
Oh God. From one 0-0 to another, I think we just head to San Diego.
All right. I mean, you don't have to talk about this 0-0. We can talk about San Diego because as much of a surprise as Nashville and BJ Callahan have been, San Diego are, right up there as well with just surprises of the season. I know they had a rather dull match against your beloved Wizards, but what do you are these guys real or fake, fraud? What comes to mind when I say San Diego?
Even though it was a 0-0, like you said, they're still very much a real threat, and I think that is best defined by in this game, San Diego were creating chances. We're creating many different types of chances. On set pieces, they were better than Sporting KC were. They love feeding the wingers, especially Irving Lozano, and getting to the byline and cutting it back. But they're also really good with their fullbacks, and they're overlapping from the fullbacks. They can create from deep. I think Anders Dreyer's a very intelligent player. He's good at either getting in behind, but he's also really good. I think this is an underrated aspect. He's very smart at coming in and facilitating as a creator. He likes to drop into that 10 space and pick out the pass that either leads to the assist to the goal or is the assist to the goal. He just was a little off of it in this game. But San Diego, for me, are very real because they can create high-quality chances from all over the field. And their defense is very resolute. I thought their defense on Saturday night was very strong as Sporting's was. And some would argue even more so because they had less to do. So they had better chances for lapse of concentration, and they never really lapsed. So yeah, San Diego for me are a very real threatening team. They're probably, in my opinion, they're the best team to watch in Southern California right now. And I like it. I don't think that's too hot of a take. I think overall, like, Snapdragon is a great venue for them. The fans seem to be embracing them, even though they were all rooting for the Galaxy a decade ago. But overall, I think that they provide a high quality match going experience. And my friend Callum, who, shout out Callum, he's a Kansas City fan, lives out in San Diego, went to this game. He said he had a good time, and it's really fun to see how good San Diego are, because I wasn't a fan of the project. I didn't know the direction they were going to go. There were a lot of unknowns for me, especially going on to like the players. I didn't know a lot of the players and how well they perform in this system. But so far, I feel like it's been pretty smooth sailing for San Diego as far as being an expansion club.
There's like the the Greg Berhalter tree of assistant coaches and whatnot. You either get a Mikey Veras, a BJ Callahan, or you get Josh Wolf. So, and kind of where we're at with that kind of lineage of coach. Jeremy, any thoughts here in San Diego, or are you just itching, ready to talk about some Minnesota?
I'd like to draw attention to one stat I believe about San Diego. Now I'm doing this based on vibe, but it wouldn't surprise me. I think Jeppe Sverskov has the most touches out of any player in the league so far this year. So I like to give him a little round of applause for that.
I did see he has the most interceptions as well.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, and I think that he's the reason why San Diego is able to do so much and attack in so many different phases. So yeah, this has been a pretty good turnaround for them after losing 3-1 to RSL. They've just been winning games since, so good for them. It's I didn't know how well they were going to be able to right the ship, but it looks like they have. All right, what is next? Minnesota? Oh yeah, great. Tani Oluwaseyi. Okay. Yeah. It isn't every day that Tani Oluwaseyi can bench two different DP strikers, but that's exactly what he's done. And you really have to congratulate him for that, because Yeboah, at least last year, like Pookie, when he came in, it was okay, yeah, it'll be fun if he scores a couple of goals. I was like, is he really going to be worth that DP slot? Yeboah absolutely was, but now that Minnesota is not fully committed to using the two striker setup, and they're very intent on getting Robin Lod and Joaquin Pereira into a dual 10 role. They finally become the team that they always could be. And I know, it's St. Louis. You're not exactly playing a giant, but this comes off of a 4-1 victory against Miami, a rotated 2-0 loss midweek to Houston, which midweek, midweek rule. But yeah, they won both their home games. They lost their only away game during this week. They are still one of the best teams in the West. I feel 100% confident in their ability to climb and keep climbing. Losing to Vancouver does not help that. But Ramsey's slowly getting it. He's slowly starting to get the hang of setting this team up to the best way they can be. And also, Julian Gressel goal. Very good for him.
Yeah, one thing about the Yeboah stuff is I really thought, Yeboah came in last year with, everything, every tool set. And man, it's insane. I thought Oluwaseyi would be benched of the two, but then he goes on and scores a ridiculous backheel goal. And we're at a point now where you can score backwards against St. Louis. And Roman Berkey's in goal too, so it's not it's not like I don't want, it is just St. Louis, right? But for a team that's as terroristic as St. Louis is, for Minnesota to, because heading into this one with the two striker system, they weren't scoring goals with both Kelvin Yeboah and Tani Oluwaseyi on the pitch. So to see them drop Yeboah, the fucking balls, dude. Most teams are well, we can't afford to fucking drop our DP unless it's a very, very, toxic situation. But Minnesota out here yeah, DP striker on the bench because Oluwaseyi's that fucking good. He's the Canadian Adjumang at this point for me. Just a guy who comes out of nowhere. I know he kind of applied his trade in the USL. I'm not sure Adjuman did that, but still came in, just domestic striker coming in and proving their worth. You gotta love it, man. That's like peak MLS right there. Any thoughts, Joss or Daniel, or are we all ready to wrap up this podcast with a return to a familiar topic for us here? But any closing thoughts from anyone on Minnesota?
St. Louis lost. I'm up.
Fun guy over here. Fun guy.
I have fun.
Let's talk about two teams that went on the road, got some points over the weekend. Vancouver Whitecaps did not play midweek, so they did have the benefit of a little bit of a rest after, being a CCC team, getting a lot of midweek action. And then on the other hand, you have Philadelphia, who after a midweek rotated their side, still came away with the win against a very poor Atlanta, taking care of business. Gents, I know I got the little applaud from Jeremey of seeing things right. Don't look where I have these two teams, because it's nowhere near. It's actually, I've had these teams at the bottom of their respective conferences. To see them at the very top is very, very humbling, because there's plenty of ways I saw that they could have stumbled, but Vancouver have a GOAT coach apparently, and Philadelphia have balls. They have grit and gumption. Before we kind of got too deep into this season, I asked the pod, of these two teams, who are you sticking with to not fall off? The panel picked Philadelphia. I picked Vancouver. We were all correct. They neither fell off. So fellas, we are, we're seeing two of the best teams in the league. What are your thoughts immediately? Let's start with Josh here, and then we'll go around and see what everyone else feels.
Thoughts on Philadelphia and Vancouver?
Yeah, just generally, either side, whatever you're seeing from each of them.
Well, yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed by the job that Bradley Carnell has done in giving Philadelphia some more tactical freedom. I think back to watching this Atlanta-Philadelphia game, and Philadelphia played Kai Wagner and Harriel as outside center backs, and didn't concede in the first half, and then they made a switch at halftime and put Wagner back at his left back spot, his preferred position, and he created a chance that led to the penalty that led to the goal. So, I'm thoroughly impressed with how seemingly, I think all the best teams in the world have a plan B and a plan C that they can reliably play when their plan A is going wrong. And for me, Philadelphia have shown it with the rotation. I mean, they had Andrew Rick come in, who is a 19-year-old, and he kept a clean sheet with some great saves. And the system changed, and still the players have adapted well and have performed excellently in the new system. I mean, Ty Baribo didn't even start the game last weekend, and he came on and scored the winner. So there's just a lot of flexibility, a lot of interchanging, and Philadelphia has the right personnel in each position for it, and that has really impressed me.
And I was loud in saying I didn't think they would, and here they are. Here's Carnell starting Alejandro Bedoya, getting a nice 60 minutes out of him, enough for them to kind of get the lead in the end. Sticking on Philadelphia, they did sit Glesnes for this, and no Glavinovic, no problem. Macania is still kind of a deer in headlights sometimes, but he's still he's still a player. You know what I mean? We'll go to Jeremy here for your thoughts on Philly, and then I'll go to Daniel for Vancouver. But what are you thinking about Philly here in general?
My thoughts behind, because like you, Juanners, I wasn't too hot on Philly entering this season, mostly because of that center back depth. And here you are, both of your presumed starting center backs are out for this game against the league's most expensive attack, mind you, and you keep a clean sheet. You can only throw your hands up and just say, of course.
Cinema.
So, yeah, cinema. Fantastic. Only in MLS, guys. So, I think that Philly. I'm still kind of impressed with the way Baribo is scoring. I thought he'd find a way to cool off after that hot start. He hasn't. He's got the most goals in the league. If you have a guy who's scoring a lot of goals, you're going to be towards the top of the league standings. Unless you're Vancouver, who, even though Brian White has been finding the net with regularity, aside from scoring, 4 of those goals in one game against Austin. I have a weird Vancouver take really quickly. Is it weird to say that they would really like to have had a midweek match to keep the freshness up? I feel like when you're playing like Vancouver and you've just been steamrolling everybody because you've been playing midweek match after midweek match, I feel like kind of like the momentum from this run was taken out because this was a very winnable game for them in Austin. They didn't really look good at all. So, yeah, I don't think it changes my larger thoughts on the season for them. And objectively, a clean sheet and a draw on the road is very good because the Timbers did the same thing this week. So I have to apply that logic to Vancouver as much as I hate it. I think both of these teams, like this week and all the congestion and Vancouver not partaking in that congestion, I think it's interesting. I think it's just really interesting, and I think that Vancouver is still far and away the best team in the West. So the good news is that even though they took this midweek off, no one really gained ground on them. So, yeah, even though Philly's now at the top of the pile, but they have Cincinnati and Columbus breathing down their necks. But Vancouver, all they have to do is just keep playing their game, and they can coast to the number 1 seed in the West.
Daniel, I'm gonna go to you for your Vancouver takes. If you have anything on Philly as well, feel free to talk about him as well. I have one thing to mention about Vancouver, but yeah, what do you make of this one, Daniel? Unless he's muted, but is he I guess I'll go.
Oh my god! I did not know I was muted. My bad.
You're good.
Grade A professional podcasting right now.
The best.
Yeah, no, I would say the most impressive thing to me about Philadelphia, like as impressive as them learning how to win close games because they were having to score so many goals prior. What's more impressive than that is Vancouver just figuring out a way to grind out draws. I know you talked about, hey, they didn't play this past Wednesday, but they still have the Canadian Championship going on. They still have the regular MLS schedule. They've been playing in the CCC all year. Like, these guys have played a lot of games so far this year. And when you play a team that shithouses like Austin does, like, you just grind out the draw, right? You do what it takes to not drop points. I think it's impressive what Ahmed and Sabi have done this year. 2 people that really just came out of nowhere. I think Vita has been great this year. You guys know how highly we've all spoken of Sebastian Berhalter. Like, this team has just been really good and they're on a tear. And if I had to pick between, like, if I picked Philly when we last did our decisions on who we would stick with, I would probably switch that to Vancouver right now. The team of destiny.
Anybody else wanting to switch over their claims here, Josh or Jeremy?
I don't think so.
Damn, sticking with Philly. Hell yeah, I like it. They're both.
I'm comfortable with mine too.
You can't go wrong. They're just some of the best teams. And if the shoe were to drop, I think for either team, I think it is. I mean, the next step for Vancouver here, and it's going to be the most crucial for the rest of their season, is how did they get Ryan Gauld back into the lineup? Initially, I mean, he's been out for most of the season, and it was initially supposed to be like a 4 to 6 week thing. It's now gotten to a 2-month thing now, 3 months almost. So we're about to enter the halfway point of the season, and Vancouver's still without their best player. I know they have Brian White still. They're caring a lot for him. Ali Ahmed and Daniel ran through all the class guys, and the biggest surprise is Vite. I was not expecting this from him. Who's largely had an okay MLS career. He's having a great year now in for Ryan Gauld, but that's next for me in this team. It's what does Ryan Gauld look like on this team? Because we had like a taste of it, but we didn't really get to savor it as much. But any closing thoughts on either of these teams, fellas, or are we ready to wrap this sucker up?
I think I'm good.
Perfect. With that being said, where can they find you, Daniel?
You can find me on Twitter at VoxProMLS. You'll see me on there as Major League Show.
Jeremy?
You can find me on the Elon app at Sports Guy Jeremy. You can find me on Bluesky at jeremypearman.bsky.social. You can find my work on my website, cascadiafc.substack.com. You can also see my face and hear my voice some more in an upcoming vlog of this weekend's rivalry game between the Timbers and the Sounders, produced by the lovely people at Lobbing Scorchers, who I have to respect because they are just as much a sicko as I am. And someone told me that one of the hosts of Lobbing Scorchers, his name is Noah Riff, looks like my Wario. So it's a good bit.
That's funny.
Joss, where can they find you?
You can find me on X/Twitter. Don't call it X. Find me on Twitter at Josh Bathtub and at Off to See the Wizards on Instagram and Twitter. We just had a video hit. I think we're on 37,000 views, and it's all St. Louis slander. So check it out.
My one lasting impression on that rivalry on the STL SKC is I took a video of my Steam Deck. I was playing MLS through the Steam Deck, and it's like an OLED screen, but the camera just doesn't record the OLED correctly, so it does look like a toaster. I posted that. I posted in the Box State Footy Discord just to kind of shit house a little bit on Shappy. I thought I was doing it in private, and Joss goes and shares the video, and for the ensuing days, I have to see people using my quality of the poorest of quality, me recording it through the freaking Steam Deck with, just toaster-like vibes. I had to see that just throughout the entire week. I was like, damn, if I'd known it was going to get that much traction, I would have gotten an actual nice screen grab. But there's something about the toaster aesthetic there. I just had to shout that out because that was...
It's really unique.
Because people were taking stills from that video as well. So,
yeah,
thanks.
my buddy Juan took a video of it, and MLS reached out and asked if they could post it on TikTok.
Really? That's insane.
Maybe you're next, Juanners. A different Juan, obviously, but maybe you're next. I'm sorry.
I don't need to be next. I just need to make sure that it can never be traced back to me. No, but you can find me and all of that happenings. Scroll down a bit at Juanners715. The Box State Footy website is officially a thing, so if you want to see where we are located, all of the links, all of the social platforms, including links to Jeremy and Joss's work from Cascadia FC and Off to See the Wizards. I put them in as a collaborative section as well. Just go to boxstatefooty.com. Pretty neat domain there. It's pretty simple, but that's where you can find links to the Bluesky, which is up and running, the Twitter, the Instagram, all of it. Just all your Box State Footy needs, boxstatefooty.com. And with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to Outside the Box. We'll see you for next week's episode. Have a good one. Bye-bye.